I have a dream. A dream to take my struggling little team from the bottom to the top using 4-4-2 wing play. And my struggling little team is Harrogate Town in League 2. Now they are struggling in more ways than one, not only in game where they're predicted to finish, well, relegation candidates at 150-1, but it also imitates real life because you can find them rock bottom of League 2 in 24th position and just in terrible, terrible form. So all things considered, they seem to be the ideal team to try and do a bottom to top journey with. Arguably, they're the worst team in League 2. So goals for this journey is to get Harrogate Town into the Premier League, bottom to top style. We've got to use 4-4-2 wing play, and we will use a variety of methods to get players in, including moneyball, attributes, the works. Now this journey actually starts by accident because it's from a prior video where I concentrated on building the tactic. There is the tactic there. It's a 4-4-2 and I just wanted to try and make the ultimate underdog 4-4-2 system. And we did that with a home tactic and an away tactic. And it's gone rather well. After 24 matches, my little Harrogate Town team are sat in the automatic promotion places, completely defying the pre-season odds. So that prior video was all about building the tactic for an underdog team. And it just so happens I kind of got hooked on this team and it's time to take them forward and see if we can get them to the Premier League. Now as it stands, we're in the 30th of December and we have not made one transfer yet, not one. This is the day one squad, so we have done pretty well to get to where we are. The question is, can we maintain it now? So the only save stipulation as such is we must use 4-4-2 wing play throughout this journey. It does mean recruitment to get players in that will suit the system will be essential as we move our way up the divisions. Unsurprisingly, the day one squad, well, it was nothing to write home about because they are one of the favourites to get relegated. There's a couple of standout players that I like. Tom Kersons is a good target forward. You can see he's 6'3". He's got decent heading, decent jumping reach, and his attributes are right in the range, and let's talk about that range. So when I'm in League 2, I like my attribute range on my key players and their key attributes to be between 10 and 12. Anything above that is a bit of a bonus. As we move up the divisions, those attributes will naturally rise. So when we get to League 1, I'll probably look in between 11 and 14, and then the Championship that bit more, and the Premier League, and so on and so forth. But for now, anything between 10 and 12, I was quite happy with. Now in the previous video, I did a section on squad analysis, and I just slotted in some custom views. So you can see here I've got workers midfield, slotted in some attributes that I was looking for from that position, and it helped me see what I was working with. And as you can see, just from quickly looking at those attributes, I've got some elite numbers, especially for the level I'm at. So there was a bit of hope going into the season. We did that for all areas of the pitch, including wingers, fullbacks, strikers, all of it. And in the first half of the season, well, you could see it went pretty well. We had a great streak near the start. We've hit a bit of a glitch around October, but we've came out of it really well, and currently we're doing okay. So around the halfway point of the season, we are going well. We're third in terms of goal scoring, and crucially for our style of play, we're top in terms of crosses completed, and chances created, we are top by 20 clear. We probably should be higher than we actually are. Now we're getting fouled a lot, which also means we're putting teams under pressure, and we are dribbling a great deal. And the interesting thing is we're doing all of this with one of the lowest average possessions in the league. We're down in 18th. We don't need the ball to be a threat, which is good. So we're doing this playing counter-attacking football. The wingers are absolutely key. You'll notice I've got full-backs, not wing-backs, because I just like them to support them. I don't like them to get in the way. If you've got good wingers, they should do the job. And in fact, my top assist maker at the moment is Ellis Taylor, who's playing it on the left-hand side, 9 assists, whipping it in. He's actually my only naturally left-sided player, so he's got natural left foot, which is a big help. So we do a lot of this style of play, crossing into the box, looping once, and there's been a few occasions where Taylor here does apply that sort of assist. You know, there's something about this style of football. I do enjoy the possession-based stuff, but sometimes just playing wing play and just whipping those crosses in, you gotta love it. Now, I do have gaps in the team which I would like to strengthen, but I'm pretty confident in the squad going till the end of the season as well. So I think what we'll do is we'll fly to the end of the season now and just see if we can make sure we get these boys promoted. So due to my, quite frankly, terrible recruitment budget of, well, not a lot, I was only able to bring in one player to help out for the rest of the season. The talented Taylor Richards, who can play anywhere across the midfield, good bit of flair, looks decent physically, and he's right in my attribute range. So as far as the second half of the season went, it was a bit inconsistent, but the end of the season was a nightmare, as we didn't have any wins in our last 6 matches. It meant we dropped down to 4th, but the last game of the season was against Barnet, who were in 3rd. The winner of that match, well, it's automatic promotion. So whatever's happened in the second half of the season, I'm not too happy with the amount of goals we've conceded at 62. That's shot up, but we are the top scorers in the league. Right, to this Barnet match. Now we're at home, it's must win, so I crank the mentality up to attacking. Big Tom Kersons gave us the lead early on after 10 minutes. Absolutely no surprise to see that we've had hardly any of the ball. On 16 minutes, disaster as we concede. We're by far the better team at this point, so it's pretty annoying that it's only 1-1. Thankfully, in the second half, we turned it around again and Kersons was there to score his second, which meant after a terrible late season run, we turned it round and managed to get promoted in that third place position. Thank God for Tom Kersons, a bit of a revelation, scoring 19 goals. But going into the new season in League One, a higher standard, I'm going to have to get some better players and I may even have to tweak some things in this tactic. Because that second half of the season was a bit worrying with the amount of goals that we shipped. Right, so we're going into season 2. Now, as far as the players go, there's a group of them that I want to give a chance to because they broke all sorts of records for the club last season. So they'll stay, but there's also a ton of players out of contract. Now they're squad players, so it's not a big deal, but it does mean we're going to have to make some big moves. But this has been complicated by a takeover. Now, takeovers in Football Manager sound great in theory, but I think 1 in every 100 come off, and that has been the case here. We've had takeover attempt after takeover attempt, and what that does is, it means you can't get players in till all that faffing is finished with. So that was a bit frustrating. I knew the positions I needed to fill. The channel forward role is not necessarily essential because I've got those 2 players in, Bennett and McCluskey, that scored a rake of goals. In fact, they got over 20 each. But there is a lot of work to do. The squad is going to be thin in a month's time. Now a bit of time has passed. We are now an EFL League One club. However, that does bring along its new challenges because, as you can see, we are odds-on relegation favourites at a whopping 450 to 1. And that has meant recruitment has been essential. Now, to be fair to the new board, I have got a transfer budget, not a great one, but I do have one. So I concentrated mostly on getting players in out of contract so we could use it for signing on fees and wages, things like that. Now, there's a mixture here of youth and experience with a couple of data-led signings, moneyball ones. We'll get to them first. So the first one was Nesta Guinness Walker. Now he can play anywhere down the left or he can jump into the centre back, but he is 5'9", so I'm going to try and avoid that with the way we play when we invite crosses in. So he's more of a left back, so he gives me the option of getting a little bit more attacking when it comes to my full back positions. Now, his crosses attempted last season using the filters, which I'll show you later on, was 14 per match. Maybe he spent a bit of time as a midfielder, so that will have helped, but either way, that's still a good rate when my top guy was 20 and the next one after that is in and around that. The next Moneyball signing was Will Nightingale, a centre back. He had a great headers won ratio of about 75 to 80%, I think it was. And he also won the ball back 11 times per match. That's pretty damn good. But the thing I'm mostly looking at was his headers, because the way we play, we invite those crosses. So experienced at 30, decent little pickup. But I'll caveat that by saying he was in the National League. So this is a step up, so maybe it's a bit of a risk. And the last one was Miguel Aziz. Now again, he's playing down in the National League, but I went for his pass completion rate, which was really good at 90%, and his assists per 90 minutes. He was at 0.36. Now he got 8 assists last season, and to be fair, his attributes are at that level we're looking for in League One. So League One, I'm looking between, for the key attributes, 12 and 14 would be great. And he's got a couple of ace passing, 13. His first touch is 13. His agility is 13. He's in the range. It's not amazing, but free transfer, 23 years old, not too bad. Now, the rest of these guys were all picked up on attribute basis. One of the better players was Mitchell Bates, released by Swansea. He only wanted to come in as a backup, but look at the thing that stands out straight away as a midfielder. He's passing at 15. Vision of 10 is not great, so you can see he's a great passer of the ball, meaning he's probably going to keep it, but he might not create a load of chances, but he'll be good backup. Next one was brought in as a midfielder, but he can probably do a job at fullback as well. Tavongi Rush-Asia. Natural fitness, he's got it. He's got work rate, he's got teamwork, so for my defensive destroyer role, he'll be good. Andre Gray is a backup, but they're all coming from bigger teams, so this guy's released by Brentford at 20. He can play anywhere down the middle. Junior Robinson released by West Ham, and he will be my new first choice right back. Acceleration stands out, his natural fitness. You'll notice these are all in between 13 and 15, so these are really good. His crossing's good as well for a fullback. And finally, there's a couple of loan signings from the Premier League. I think Leicester have got themselves promoted, and the first one is a striker to give us even more options up there. The thing that stands out straight away is his top line value, which should give us a bit of a fighting chance in League One of 2.3 to 4.3 million. Now, as a striker with 15 flair, 15 off the ball, finishing his 14, good physical numbers as well. And the other one is Isaac Holland, who's going to provide competition down the right hand side. His attributes are all in the range of League 2, but remember he's 20, so as the season goes on I expect those to start climbing up into the League 1 range. I think he's a good signing as well, and he'll be a bit of a better player than the guy I've got already. So this is the way we are looking. You can see I have actually gone against my philosophy and I've got a wing back involved with a winger. The reason being is that Guinness Walker is such a good player, I don't want to limit him, so I am going to ask him to move a bit forward. In front of him is Ellis Taylor, who is very much a League 2 player, I do believe, although he did break the assist record for us last season, so he does deserve a chance. At the minute I'm undecided on the central midfield position, and I've got 3 strikers now competing for that one shirt next to Kersons. So the squad is a lot bigger, meatier, and it should last the full season. Whether it does well, we shall wait and see. Now, the other cool thing that happened last season was I got a youth intake in, and I wasn't expecting much considering the below average youth facilities and everything else is pretty basic, but there was one big standout. Now, I've currently got him in the under 21s, and instantly I thought, hang on a sec, his value has gone between 400 and 1.4 million, and he's here. He's the oldest 16-year-old we'll ever see, thanks to the new gen pack, but look at this. Now, in honesty, despite being 16, he's probably ready to go straight in the team, and he's really handy as well. At 6 foot, he can play at centre-back if I wanted to, and he actually looks really good as a ball-playing centre-back. That may well be his future position. At the minute, he's a central midfielder, very much a defensive one, because when we get a bit more attacking, you can see the Flair drops down, the finishing, the first touch. So he's either going to be a centre-back for me or a DM going forward, and I would not be surprised if he's going to be in the team this season. So very slight tweaks to the tactic this season. We're going to focus more down the left hand side, and that might even mean that when we come to team instructions, at the minute I've got them on both flanks. I might, if it's looking like the best way to attack is purely down the left hand side, just to take advantage of those two left hand side players, but we'll see. Now, as promised, here is the attacking data search I used in the player filters at the end of last season. You can see you've got assists, chances created, key passes, dribbles. When I'm a bit lower down, I'm looking just for a specific player, for example a winger. I was really only looking at 2 metrics: dribbles per 90 and crosses attempted per 90. So if you wanted to simplify things, you could just remove some of these and then you'd really focus in on the ones you're looking for. So we're about to launch into season 2, and we've got a hell of a job on at 450 to 1. I mean, everybody else, the next closest to us is 150 to 1 in Mansfield, so we've got absolutely no respect coming from the pre-season odds. So this season, if we can stay in this league and then maybe get some more money available to improve the squad, that would be a bit of a result. From the first game of the season, where we smashed promotion favourites Wigan and then put 5 past Sheffield Wednesday, I wasn't quite prepared for the amazing start to the season we just had. So just over the halfway stage, we are sat in the automatic promotion places. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I'm all for it. This league is carnage. Every team is losing a boatload of matches. Even the team at the top have lost 5, and look at all these teams with 9 defeats, 9 defeats, 13. It's crazy. Now, what we've managed to do is score the most goals, and by a decent margin as well, with 61. You can see how much we're relying on just getting the ball forward, because final third passes per game, well, we are third bottom of that. Similar story for passes completed, because we sit down in 21st, so we're just getting it and launching it to the wings. It's meant our boy Tom Kersons leads the way again. He's got 20 goals in 27 matches in the league. So things have gone bizarrely well. You'll notice I've dropped into the away tactic. That's because here, when the games are really stacking up in late November and December, we're just starting to lose a few matches. We lost 4 out of the 6, and I've just shored it up a bit by going to the away formation. You can see the difference. We've stopped conceding, although we have stopped scoring as well. So I'm going to need to pick and choose which matches we go attacking and which we back off a little bit more in the second half of the season. Now, as expected, the new players have made an impact in terms of assists. We've got Isaac Holland, the winger, with 9 assists, and I just knew that Guinness Walker would be just too good to keep as a normal fullback, and pushing him on a bit has given him 8 assists, so he's just primed to be a more attacking player. In terms of goals, Tom Kersons leads the way with 20. Mason Bennett, I mean, when he plays, he just scores. He's scored 12 times, and he's only started 18 matches, and quite often he's been playing out on the wing due to injuries, so he's just lethal. And when I look at the data, Ellis Taylor, right, he's not been a regular this season. I didn't think he was going to be good enough. His attributes say he's not going to be good enough, but He leads the way in terms of assists per 90 at 0.4, and he's got 5 assists from his 11 starts, so he probably deserves to start a bit more regular. I just can't get past those attributes. He shouldn't be this good. So there's absolutely no way I'm going to make any transfers. There's no need. Unless an absolute superstar is randomly available as a free transfer who I think could help us out, I'm just going to leave the team. I mean, there is a few looking at that. Look at that. Oh dear. Focus. If we look at the league, we're guaranteed to be in the league next season, aren't we? We've got 51 points, but now, could we somehow get a back-to-back promotion? I'm expecting a drop-off, but we do have a little gap there of 5 points. Dare to dream. Back-to-back promotions. Not to stick the knife into West Ham too much, but we beat them 2-0 in the FA Cup. This gave us a landmark trip to the Emirates, and we were drawing 1-1 at one point before succumbing 4-1 to Arsenal. But in the league, we carried on. There were some wins, there were some losses, but crucially, every time we went on a bit of a bad run, like here, we came out of it pretty well. And it was this result on the last day of the season against Leyton Orient, which confirmed our promotion to the blooming Championship with back-to-back promotions. We did lose 7 out of those 19 matches in the second half of the season, but by smashing in a whopping 104 goals, we've got ourselves up to the next level. Quite the result. So we're ahead of schedule. I mean, stupidly ahead of schedule. I think, thankfully, this league, when we get to it, check it out. The fact that everybody lost so many matches. I mean, the team in position 5 lost 15 times. We lost 13 and we finished second. Just a nuts season, but we've done it. There were a few tweaks to the tactic. We decided to step up a bit more and get a bit more of a high press, going a bit aggressive. That was in the home tactic. The away tactic stayed the same, however. It was still a mid-block. Also, in the home tactic, attacking mentality was used quite a lot, and that's why we got 100 goals, because we weren't going to keep the goals out, so I was just going for it. So one of the big successes was having that wing-back and Nesta Guinness-Walker, because he got 12 assists from that position. So if I get the right player, I'm not scared to adapt the formation. Normally it'd be fullbacks behind wingers, but because he was so good going forward, and it proved that way, it was a good decision to change his role. Of the other players, Holland on loan, I mean, what a difference maker he was. He ends with 14 assists, so 13 assists, 7 goals from right hand side. And the front two, fantastic. Kirsten's actually dropped off in the second half of the season. He had 20 at halfway, but he only scored another 4. But that's alright, because Bonnie, on loan from Leicester, managed to back him up with 14. And in fact, when you go to the squad list and look at the goals list, you can see Kirsten's there, and then Mason Bennett with 18, there's Bonnie with 16, and Mikulski with 14. So those three kind of shared that striker position. What a banging job they did. I got big assists in midfield from Tom Hill, Isaac Holland, and there's that Guinness Walker with 12 and Ellis Taylor as well. Pretty damn good stuff, boys. But there was one thing that I wasn't quite happy with. Maybe it's a different level, but if you look at our crosses attempted, we were way down. We're down to 8 per match, and that comes from Guinness Walker, 7 from the right-hand side. Ellis Taylor with only 5.9. Now, last season, these boys were in double figures, so it might be something to do with the fact that we're at a higher level, but the style of play we play, we need that to get up, especially in the Championship when we're going to be under some big time pressure. Having said that, the assists per 90 were good. Anything above 0.4 is absolutely fantastic. 0.3 is really good. So the fact I've got 6 players at 0.3 or above is good. So the question is now, what do we do for the Championship? I would say 1 or 2 of these boys are probably good enough. I mean, the keeper, who had a great season, Belshaw, he's got 1 year left on his contract, and he's a good keeper, but he's 36, so he's not going to be around too much longer. So it's going to be another transfer window where I've got to get a ton of players in. As far as the overall performance, we were the top scorers in the league with 104, so 20 clear of our next closest rivals, Reading. But like I said, crosses completed, I was a bit disappointed. We were way off top position. Stockport with 310, we're down in joint 12 with 228. But on the flip side of that, we were the best team in terms of chances created, so we were getting chances from other areas of the pitch. But this is my favourite stat of all the team stats. Passes completed, MK Dons are top with 28,000. They finished in 6th position. And as for us, who finished 2nd, there we are, bottom of the table, over 12,000 passes less than MK Dons. So we've got promoted despite not excelling in the areas that I wanted us to. Crosses completed, we were way off down in 12th. And it's same for dribbles, we weren't really anywhere. 13th. These are the 2 areas I thought we'd be right at the top, but it turns out that we did other areas of the game really well to get us blooming promoted. Now, when I look at the squad, I've got a load of players on 1 year deals. I think I've got about 12 down there on 1 year deals, and a lot of them are squad members. So I'll have a little look at it. If they perform well, they can stay and have a crack at the Championship. If not, hopefully the board come up trumps, gives a decent amount, and we can maybe get some players in released by the Premier League clubs. Oh, by the way, Sam Moore, that young 18-year-old, my great friend Aston Villa stole him before I could get him to sign a contract. So the board gave me 800,000, which is an absolute giant amount for me. Initially, I wanted to explore the out-of-contract market. I only spent money on Rico Richards at 150,000. He's a winger who comes in from Port Vale, bit of promise, and his value shot up to 2.3, so it looks like a good little signing. Other players that came in are from the Premier League. Released player Harvey Arujo from Fulham. Exciting player Daniel Kanu, though, comes from Charlton. And he's a striker and he hits some of the attributes I'm looking for in the Championship. I'm looking for things between 13 and 15. It's ambitious at our level, but he does have a couple in his mentals. A few other players in there, new goalkeeper in Louis Molden and experience in Geraldo Bajami. Again, he's hitting those attribute markings with 13 in some technical areas, plenty over 12 and 13 in mentals. But I do have an awful lot of work left to do because we are down at 300 to 1 odds on relegation yet again. I've got about a month left of pre-season. I've still got a lot of work to do. I do need some central midfielders. Now, I've lost all of my strikers, like all of them. The only one that remains from last season is big Tom Kersons. So at the minute, I've only got Tom Kersons and the new signing, Daniel Kanu. But he does look a really good player. So I'm going to have to get in the transfer market and find more options for up front. I need more options for midfield and I need backups everywhere. Because if you look at the overall squad, it's pretty small now. So all of these players were basically attribute signings and signed on promise. The only one that wasn't was Bajami. He was the best centre-back in League 2 last season. And now I'm asking him to jump to the Championship. But I do still have a little bit of time left to get some more players in. And if you look at the recruitment budget, I've got 586,000 left of the 600 that we did have. So we might actually spend a bit of money because the only goal is to survive. Don't expect a miracle promotion this season like last season. Just don't. I was able to get a couple of more signings in just before the season began. One of the best midfielders in League 2 last season, Scott Robinson, with a pass completion rate of over 90%, joins the club on a freebie. Released Liverpool youngster Callum Scanlon, who hits our attribute range and can play anywhere down the left. And I took a flyer on a backup target forward, the legendary 6'9" Kyle Hudlin. So we started with a 3-3 draw against Blackburn and a nice victory in the Carabao Cup. Then we shockingly won at Birmingham, destroyed Barnsley, and carried on in the Carabao Cup against Chesterfield. At this point, it was fair to say that teams were underestimating us, but then came Derby, and then Bristol City for two thumping back-to-back defeats. Now, we did kind of recover, but we've just been on a horrific run. Check that out. 1 win in our last 14 matches as we hit the mid-season break. It means we're sitting in 18th. Look, we've got 30 points and the bottom 3 go down, so we're 8 clear, so I'm happy with this so far. And crucially, the front 2 are getting a load of goals. New signing Daniel Kanu's bagged 14 and Harrogate legend Tom Kersons has got 12. So we're scoring plenty. The problem is conceding because we're going over 2 per match, which is one of the worst in the league. Right, check out this season. So we started really well. I thought we've smashed this because teams probably didn't know what to expect, but as the kind of worked us out here, goals were going in left, right and centre. Didn't matter who I put in goals, and this run here, it actually looks worse than it is because we did all right. There's a good result against Hull, good result against Luton, and we battered Borough 4-2. And if you look at some of the other matches this season, we've beat some big teams. Beat Leicester 2-1, beat Burnley 2-0. Just a lot of games, we're just shipping a lot of goals. But let's not panic. If you look closer, like against West Brom, one of the fancied teams in the league, we dominated 17 shots, 8 on target, but West Brom kind of stole it. So we're not going to panic. We are 8 points clear. If we can get 4 or 5 wins out of this next 20 or so matches, I think we'll be all right for another season. Okay, so January and February continued to be brutal. Then it was time for a couple of tactic tweaks to the 4-4-2, and we finished the season much better, getting some vital wins. It meant we survived only 2 places clear of relegation, but 11 points, so in the end it was pretty comfy. It's pretty clear to see what the problem was. We conceded 95 goals. We scored 76, which was the best in the bottom, well, nearly bottom 18. So we survived with basically a League One team, so it's a bit of an achievement, but we need to do better next year. So believe it or not, to get those results near the end of the season, I actually pushed the defensive line right up. It went higher and just tried it that way, and it did get us a few results. Everything else was the same system, 4-4-2, a couple of role changes here and there, but I won't be using this tactic next season. It was literally just to get us survival. But there's a fair bit to be positive about. My front 2 strikers, both with 19 and 17, so that's a great level at the Championship level. those two are going to be wanted men. Assists were a bit more of a battle. Ellis Taylor continued to lead the way. The enigma that he is. He shouldn't be as good as he is, but he continues to drop the numbers. Second in assists was Fabio Gelo, who was a late signing in the transfer window. You can see why I went for him. He's got various attributes that are up there. Crossing is a bit of a problem, but he did manage to get 8 assists. In reality, he probably wants to be a striker, but I forced him way back here when he did play. So after 2 successive promotions, we are 20th. We did win 15 matches out of the 46, so we're winning 1 in every 3. If we can change it to 1 in every 2, you're going to get promoted. So that's going to be the goal next season. We have just entered May, so the transfer budget is pretty low, but I'm sure with survival assured it'll go up next season. So what I'm going to do now is decide which of this starting 11 will be good enough for next season, because we need to drastically improve. Some players I know are going to be good, like Scanlon. 28 matches, 8 assists, his value's at 3.4 million. This is the player we got released by Liverpool, so that's maybe an avenue we can explore, checking out these released players from top level teams. So there's going to be another big season of movement. I will point out one more player, by the way. The best midfielder from League 2 last season, do you remember? Robertson, well, he's made the jump to the Championship fantastically with 9 goals, 5 assists, and he's one of the few players whose average rating was actually above 7. There you see it, 7.05. Cracking little player. So we must have done something right, because every Championship club in the world seemed to offer us a job, including the big boys in Wolves. And there was definite progress in our squad, because some big time players have joined us. The biggest of the bunch is probably midfielder Koba Coindrady. I mean, we just nabbed a player from Sporting. And look at his value. Free transfer, thank you very much. Joining him was centre-back Jeffrey Kondo. He came in from Dunkirk. Jamal Baptiste, and you'll notice in all of these players, the attributes have came up to that level that we were after. These are better players. And I was also able to get Mets striker Abu Sane. There's a few other players joined as well, including Brazilian right-back Douglas Borrell. I'm excited about this season. But despite all those new signings, the pre-season odds made us rock bottom favourites again at 250 to 1. So changes to the tactic this time will probably come from the team instructions. In possession stays pretty much the same, but I'm going to have a balanced approach when we go forward. And out of possession, I'm going to push that defensive line to standard, but I will drop that down if I need to, if we're under pressure. Make no bones about it, this is our best squad yet. We've got players coming in from top teams, and not just released youngsters as well. So we only brought in 5, but all of them can potentially start. I showed you most of them. There's another one there from Bournemouth, Michael Da Costa Gonzalez. He's 23. And he should be a decent backup right winger, but he's only backup. The most important players are those starters. Jeffrey Kondo, who was centre back at Dunkirk, Koba from Sporting, and Jamal Baptiste, who played last season for Sheffield United and was one of the better centre backs in the league. I'm surprised they let us have him. So we know we can score goals at this level because my 2 strikers were 2 of the top scorers in the league last season. We just need to shore it up in defence. And hopefully we can defy these disrespectful odds once again. 250 to 1. Goal for this season. Let's try and get to that top half and just have a little sneak at those playoffs. So losing 6-1 in one of your first games of the season, well, that's not ideal. But we didn't panic, and a few tweaks later, we go to Sheffield United and beat them 4-1. And after a rocky start to the season, we started to get things back with draws all over the place, and right now, in our latest version of the 4-4-2, well, we're doing okay. I mean, I'd say more than okay, because we're currently sitting in the playoffs in 6th position. There's a long way to go, but we're definitely progressing from last season. And 2 things do remain the same. We're scoring plenty of goals, 2 per match. We're just conceding far too many. Last season's key midfielder, Robertson, well, he's just been unhinged. He's on the verge of becoming our record assist maker, but the EFL Championships as well, and it's only December. Look at him go. Free transfer, remember. 14 assists in 25 matches from central midfield. So at the minute, this version of the 4-4-2 is holding us in good stead. We've got a little bit more expressive with my 2 centre-backs, more than capable on the ball, so they've transitioned into ball-playing centre-backs. It took a little while for Frenchman Jeffrey Kondo to settle, but he's getting there. And once again, we can rely on the front too. Harrogate legend Kersons with 11 goals so far, and his strike partner Daniel Kanu, well, he's got 13. As we look closer at the league table, one bad run could knock us down the league, but if we can just maintain this, wow. So at the halfway point of the season, we are 3rd bottom when it comes to possession, but that's okay. Because as usual, we are creating the most chances in the league, and there has been some good progress in terms of other aspects of our game. 2nd in the league for possession lost, and that's a good thing. I guess it kind of shows how little possession we do have, and final 3rd passes per game, so those little intricate passes in and around the box, well, we don't do that, as you can see. But a stat I am massively disappointed in is possession 1, because we're rock bottom. We need to sort that out. There was a few tweaks here and there to player roles. I've tried Tom Kirsten's in a few different roles. He's currently playing as a deep line forward. And out of possession, we drop into this deep formation with both strikers dropping back. But going into the second half of the season, I'm a bit worried that this team start might come back to bite us. Let's see. So I didn't make any transfers in the second half of the season. I didn't need to. And in the first load of games in January and February, it was only one defeat. We were flying. At one stage, I thought we might even nick automatic promotion. But then we played this game against Birmingham and it changed everything. It led us into a bit of a winless run. We weren't losing many games, but so many draws. And it's a heartbreak as we finish in 7th position, just one place out of the playoff positions. And like a broken record, you know what the problem was. 70 goals conceded, the worst in the top 8. And although we did improve slightly in terms of possession won, it wasn't quite enough. Not sure what to think about that season. I mean, on the face of it, 7th with that sort of team is a pretty damn good result. I mean, the chemistry of the team, everything is looking good. We're just conceding too many goals, but we did finish in 7th position. Like, this is huge progress from last season where we finished all the way down here. And we're on the cusp of getting there. I mean, we finished above big teams like Wolves, Leicester, Sunderland, Borough. What might have been. It was just this little streak here between March and early April that screwed me over. A couple of wins there and we're in the playoffs. But we didn't lose many matches. 11 matches all season in a notoriously crazy league. There's potential here. So when I look at the team, Big Tom got another 20 like he always does. This guy, he's one of those players. He's a League 2 / League 1 player, but he's doing the business for me. So he's a legend. He's going to stay with us as long as we can keep him. And just below him, Kanu got himself another 16. Now, if you look at the values of my players, the top value is 1.8 for Koba that we signed from Sporting. Then we've got Jeffrey Kondo at 1.5. They're not exactly blow-away figures though, are they? So we're obviously going in the right direction. Kirsten's played most of this season as a deep line forward. You wouldn't really associate him being a deep line forward. His flair's not great. I might change him back to a target forward next season. But it's tough when you're trying to keep the same shape but still progress the team. So it may be that we mess around with out of possession again next season, because although we changed it and started to win the ball back a bit, we're still 23rd out of 24, which is where our problems lie. So as far as the squad, I've got about 10 out of contract, but a lot of those are just squad players. I'm hoping we get some more money this time, because last pre-season I praised the board, but since the takeover, they have been terrible. You can see their recruitment budget there. They didn't give us one last season. They better give us one this season. Now, we are hemorrhaging money because they want to make a new stadium. I mean, priorities, lads, priorities. I mean, I couldn't have saved them any more money, could I? I mean, I didn't spend a penny and we got them to 7th. If they give us a little bit of money, I might be able to get these boys in the Premier League. Either way, work to do in pre-season. We've got to try and get to that next level now. Playoffs have got to be the target next season, but I do have to remember we were odds-on favourites for relegation, so to finish 7th is a bit of an achievement. But I've just done something that I wish I hadn't done. That dreaded XG table. Are you ready? So we finished in 7th position. According to XG, instead of being mad about it, it says to me we are on the right track. I don't need to change a lot. Well, the big news was they listened. They gave us $1 million in the transfer budget, but there was no wage budget. So I'm going to have to flip it around a bit, but it's better than nothing. So I knew the team was doing well. We should have got automatic promotion, so it's got to be defending. I looked at possession 1 per 90 and it was okay. There's a few in double figures. We could do a few more. Something to think about. Interceptions per 90 were really good. Happy with that. Same with pressures. Then I found the two outliers. Our headers, 1%, our top guy was 67%. That is not good, and then it falls off drastically. So we have a big problem there. The next was tackle ratio. Disregard the top two because that's a sub and a striker, so not many tackles were made. But after that, there's only a few over 80% and then it drops off. So we're not winning the ball back via tackles and we're nowhere near winning enough headers. So now when I go into the transfer market, I know what I'm looking for. Someone who can win headers and someone who can tackle.
So I take the 7th place finish as a positive. I know what I need to do to improve the team. It's just defending. So I went into the transfer market in pre-season focusing on those two things, headers and tackles. And the board loved me because yet again I didn't spend a penny. 5 players brought in for no fee. And we've had what can only be described as the perfect pre-season. We won every match and didn't concede a goal, including against teams like Como. So back to these players, and there was a bit of a shift in philosophy at fullback. This is Teo Subaloy, who is more of a centre-back, but I'm going to play him as a right-back largely due to his ability in the air. He's 6'2", his jumping reach is 16. It should mean he backs the centre-backs up quite well. Speaking of centre-backs, I went to Famalicão in Portugal and got myself Ibrahima Ba. So it's a bit of a risk because he was on loan in the Australian leagues last season at Wellington. He was fantastic and he had an 89% header percent win ratio. So this is probably a step up, but looking at his attributes, I think he should be able to do the job. Also coming in for fullback was left-back Deveron Fonville. He's a Curaçao international coming in from Dutch football. Tackling of 15, his win percent last season was high, over 80%. I've also given myself another option with Tom Deli Bashiru, who's got loads of championship experience. And now for the key signing, Danny Requena, a midfielder. The first thing that strikes you is his value, 16 to 17.5 million. He's had an epic pre-season. I'm not quite sure how little Harrogate Town have got him. So his backstory is this. He's from the Villarreal youth setup and he was on loan last season in Toronto. I saw him, snapped him up. How long we keep hold of him I don't know, but for this season, my God. Now the final signing was a loan signing, Zion Williams, a striker from West Ham. I mean, what are they doing giving me him? Because they are a division rival. This is one of the best strikers of his type I've seen. He's 6'5", he's got a jumping reach of 17, his finishing and first touch and technique are outrageous. Wow. This boy could be the perfect player for us. He fits into our style of play fantastically and he's going to give the crossers something to aim at. So here we are in the midway point of the season. It's late December. Now the first thing I want to look at is the team stats. And the average possession, nothing changes for us. We're all the way down in 23rd position. But crucially, there has been a shift in our defensive performance. Headers won, we've now climbed all the way up to 6th, with the ratio being 4th, fantastic. But here's the big one, tackles won ratio, we top the entire division. What an improvement from last season. We look a good team now, and we did expect that Williams up front would mean crosses were more successful, and he has been terrific. 8 goals, 4 assists so far this season. And currently, after 25 matches, we sit just behind West Ham in the race for automatic promotion. As always, the championship is super tight. The most impressive thing about this season for us is the way we've shored up defensively. Remember, we were the second worst team in defence last season, but just a few player tweaks have meant we've only conceded 32, which is one of the better defences in the league. Daniel Kanu, again, plucked from Charlton reserves, continues to score goals. The big surprise for me this season has been the form of Tom Deli Bashiru. He's now a regular starter in the team, 6 goals, 5 assists from midfield. He's capitalising on those knockdowns from Williams. And crucially, all my centre-backs are in double figures in terms of possession won. And the big idea to put a centre-back at right-back has worked the treat with Teo, because he's won over 80% of his headers, which is absolutely what we needed. So all is looking good, and a load of goals have come like this, counter-attacking from deep, holding the ball up from the striker, the legend Kersons, and getting the ball wide to the pacey wingers. And he's getting a load more assists this season, Richards from the right. I think he's got double figures. Yeah, 11 assists in 21 matches. Superb. Right, we are very near to the season end. I pull that face because despite a bit of a ropey end to the season, there you can see it, up and down, we have got ourselves into the playoffs as the top ranked team. We nearly got into the automatics, but Stoke and West Ham just had a little bit too much, but a great overall season where we only lost 9 matches, which is the second best in the league, to West Ham, and we only conceded 57. Now that sounds a lot, but in a league like the Championship, that's probably about the 3rd or 4th best. So it's a massive improvement. Now, we have just beat Derby in the first round of the playoffs. 1-1 away from home and then 3-2 in the home leg. So we are in the playoff final where we will play Ipswich Town. So Ipswich are coming up. Now, how have we got to this stage? Well, it was all about those signings, I think. It's interesting that it just shows that you can have the best tactic in the world, but if you haven't got the right players, it won't work. We haven't made any changes to this from last season's 7th place, but now we're 3rd. Just the signings have got us over the line. Now, going into this playoff final, we do have a bit of a problem in forward position because a load of strikers are injured. Now, the legend that is Tom Kersons did have a decent season, but he's unhappy now because he hasn't played as much. But he missed a chunk of the season with injury. He still scored 6 times in 17. But I think you'll agree there's absolutely no way that I couldn't play Zion Williams when available. He had a few knocks as well, but look at him. I mean, the goal now is, if we get promoted, to get him off West Ham, because he's just signed a new deal there. But if they only want that much, man, we've got to sign him, because at 19, these attributes are just going to go up. We've got ourselves a really good team now. That midfield, Scanlon, who is the winger we got from Liverpool, good little player. He's got 18 assists, I think, this season, something like that. On the other side, Richards, another player we just got from the lower leagues. Again, double figures. And then we've got Bashu and Requena, which I reckon is probably the best central midfield partnership in the league. Deli Bashiru scored 14 from midfield, which is a massive bonus. And God bless him, Danny Requena. such a cultured footballer, been thrust into this wing play setup, but he's done really well, and he is my top asset at 13 to 14 million. And I should mention the goalkeeper in the back four. What a job they've done. They've completely turned it around. Slicker is one of the top clean sheet makers in the league. This move to get a right back to play centre back was ideal. I don't know why I didn't think about it sooner, because in my setup, I'm not asking the fullbacks to be the assist makers, so it's better they're more solid in defence, and that change has worked wonders. Allow the wingers to do the assists, let the fullbacks sit back, clean up, support the centre backs. I think that's been the big change of this season. And that is the change. Headers won, we're now finishing 4th position. That's fantastic compared to where we were. The ratio was 2nd in terms of headers won ratio. Other defending metrics, we've won the 3rd most tackles in the entire league. What an improvement. And our won ratio, we are top of the table. We've climbed ourselves up from possession won as well. Remember, we were rock bottom, I think, 23rd or 24th, and now we're clawed ourselves up to 8th with no tactical changes, just personnel changes. And in terms of attacking, we've got our cross completion ratio up to 5th. Remember, I was a bit disappointed that we dropped down in terms of crosses completed. We're tied 10th in the league now. It's kind of tight. There's 40 difference between 10th place and top, so the style of play is working. And the other factor was dribbles per game. We were way down, but we've got ourselves basically top 3 in the league now. Anyway, enough talking. We need to get to this championship finale and try and get ourselves into the Premier League in the year 2030. And it's quite fitting that Big Tom comes back into the team for probably the biggest game in Harrogate Town's history. Come on. So the biggest game in Harrogate history, and for some reason I decided to wear a red jumper and match the seats. But I needn't have worried, as we took an early lead through Tom Delly. And then it turned into the Williams show, as the 19-year-old made himself a Harrogate legend, as he scores an epic Wembley hat-trick, taking us to the Premier League. So we've done it, and after all these years of penny pinching, out of nowhere, Harrogate, taking the worst advice anywhere, have given us 30 million to spend in the Premier League. Where have they got that from? But you know what, it doesn't seem right to just discard these boys who've got us up this journey, the likes of Kersons, Taylor, and a lot of these signings have been there for a while as well. So we're going to give as many of them as possible a chance in the Premier League to keep us there. One thing I am doing though, I've already bid for Williams, 2.8 million, come on West Ham, let me have him. But there is now a nice shiny P next to our name. We have been promoted. Harrogate Town are a Premier League team. And for someone who likes to tweak tactics a lot, keeping to this 4-4-2, I mean, we have now played 4,771 minutes playing this tactic, and we haven't played anything else. So I know the journey was just to get Harrogate into the Premier League, but I feel like we need to do at least one season to keep them there, right? Son of a... So here we are as a Premier League team, and the bookmakers have been kind, making us 1,000 to 1 to win the title and 1 to 10 on to get relegated. Wonderful. Now, I did say I wasn't going to go crazy in the transfer market, but I have brought in quite a lot of players to bulk out the squad. So the most I spent was on a goalkeeper, Mama and D. I've had him before in Football Manager. He's an eccentric little man, 17, but look at him on the ball. He's kicking 17. He's fantastic on the ball. And I just think, even if it goes wrong this season, he's a sellable asset. But crucially, now we're in the Premier League, look at those attributes, up and above 15. Remember, in the top flight, I'm looking for key attributes to be 15 plus, and he's got an abundance of them. So I also want to be solid at the back, so I brought in Armando Obispo from PSV. I was really struggling to find elite centre-backs. He's just on the cusp with attributes at 14 range, so he's nearly there, and he'll do a job for this season, free transfer. And the big news is, we did get Zion Williams, although it was only on loan, but maybe we can convince him to join us next season. Again, his attributes are fantastic. In case it didn't work out for him, I did get Ellis Sims on a free transfer, finishing a 15 for a striker, and he scored 21 in the Championship last season. And I paid 900,000 for South Korean player Lee Hung-joo. He can play anywhere across midfield, great technique, great agility, should be a nice little player. And then we shocked everybody by signing someone that Harrogate Town can only dream of. That's right, I don't know how we did it, but Lucas Paquetá joined us on a free transfer at 32 years of age. It's a one-year deal. I see it as a zero risk, really. Despite being over 30, his attributes are fantastic. He should give us that little bit of extra class in central midfield, giving us a fighting chance.
It means the side going into the season will look a little bit like this. There's still plenty of players that got us promoted and they occupy the bench as well. I also brought in a left back in Boniface who's got elite physicals. Let's have a look at him. So he's an Englishman. He's played in the Championship last season, but great work rate, great physicals. He should offer a little bit more going down the left-hand side. But you know, we will need a miracle. We are 1,000 to 1 for a reason, and we're going to come up against some scary players this season. Vinicius has joined Erling at Man City. Jude Bellingham's found himself at Chelsea. Just scary stuff. So we started the season pretty well. Paquetá, Ellis Sims, wonderful. But we lost 4-2. But we were putting up a decent fight and Sims scored 3 in the first 4 matches. But then he got injured for 3 months and he's only just came back. And I won't lie, it was a brutal start as we only got 2 points out of our first 9 matches. But no team was absolutely smashing us, unlike us when we met Stoke and absolutely opened up. Our first win of the season from absolutely nowhere was 5-0. So we did struggle away from home, losing most matches, but at home we were starting to get results, a big win over Norwich. And probably our best performance yet at home against Nottingham Forest, thanks to our X-Factor, Lucas Paquetá. Look, it's been a tough season, but he's managed to get 5 goals, 5 assists, which has helped us out big time. I think we'd be better off if it wasn't for these massive injuries. Player after player injured, and the biggest blow is goalkeeper and main man and D. The man's out for 3 months. Disaster. Add our best defender Obispo for 2 months, and left back Boniface also out. This is brutal. But after a ropey start, we have picked up some results, especially against teams of our level. It means at the halfway stage, we've got a fighting chance. Look, we're in the bottom 3, but we're alive and kicking. So, crew, this has been tough, I won't lie, this has been tough. But we've got 4 wins, so if we can get another 4, that would take us to 28. I think we're going to need about 6 to 8 more wins to try and survive in this. But the good news is no one's adrift. We've got 16 points, and then you've got West Ham in 15th on 19. Newcastle struggling in 19, so nobody's getting away from us. So when it comes to the team, Undy has been unbelievable, right? He's conceded 24, but he's saved us so many times, bless him. But he's injured now. He broke his blooming arm. That's how much he's been playing. He's putting his body on the line. So Williams took a little while to get going, Zion, but he has scored 6 times in a relegation team. That's pretty good. My problem has been next to him because all other strikers keep getting injured. I can't keep a regular strike partner for him. I might have to call on Tom. Now 29, he's on the downward spiral. He's not a Premier League player, is he? But he might have to get a chance here. But yeah, we talked about those injuries. I think I'm going to go in the transfer market because we do need a centre-back to help us out. Potentially we might need another striker. Thing is, I've got 24 million to spend, so we do have the funds. I just need to find the right players. So with injuries in mind, I did manage to bring in a couple of players. Joan Gadou, centre-back, comes in from Sunderland. He's been playing in the Championship, but you can just see he is a step above what we've got. Also floating around on a free transfer was Louis Smiley, formerly of Newcastle, so in he comes. So I'm trying to add one more player, a winger, to the squad just to help us out a bit. Now, it's the 1st of January. We've just got a decent result against Brighton, which was 0-0, but we lost against City. But no team's battering us. City beat us 3-1, but it's City. But those 2 results have meant we are bottom of the league. So we've got work to do, but we're not adrift. We're not adrift. There's only 4 points between 14th and 20th as we charge into the second half of the season. So January was actually okay. There was a win in the Cup, a good point at Everton, and we even beat Aston Villa. However, after a couple of defeats to Chelsea and Liverpool, we were struggling once again. But our annoying counter-attacking play kept giving us the odd result. And our tiny stadium was rocking when Gadou gave a Van Dijk-like showing at the far post to beat West Ham. That meant with 2 games to go, we clawed ourselves out of the relegation zone, but it is so tight. We continue to get victories over teams around us, like this one against Stoke. This was absolutely huge late in the season. Once again, a classic Harrogate goal. It meant despite losing to relegation rivals Norwich, if we could get a point in our last game of the season, we would be safe. It was against title chasing Arsenal, and wouldn't you just know it, they scored first, kind of from a corner. But late on, Sane supplied Williams to grab a precious point, and it meant we finished in 16th position and accomplished our goal. We survive in the Premier League. My life, that was tight. Look how tight it is down there. So you've got West Ham, Southampton, Norwich, and then ourselves. Now what makes this even better for us is, do you remember the season preview where we were 1,000 to 1? Well, they took a look at my transfer business and said, actually, it's 2,000 to 1. So it wasn't pretty at times, but you will notice the mentality. So In that closing stretch against teams like Norwich and Stoke, I cranked it up to attacking and then dropped it down to balanced for Arsenal and the like, and it seemed to do the job. We got just enough points to survive. Now, we set a few record lows here in terms of average possession. We were 35%. That is king counter-attack, that. But we didn't embarrass ourselves in the Premier League. We were 11th in terms of goals conceded. Everybody conceded quite a few. We were up there in terms of tackles won, 6th. We blocked a load of shots, which probably shows you how much pressure we were under. Same goes for clearances, 3rd most shots against us, so we've done really well to survive. I mean, in real life, he's kicking up a storm at West Ham wanting to leave, and he's leaving us, he's going to Saudi, but he did his job for us, 7 goals, 8 assists for Paquetá. And speaking of West Ham, so they loaned us Zion Williams. He gets 12 goals for us, which was absolutely vital, indirectly relegating his own club, which will probably mean that he will join us next season, right? The key signing was Gadou at centre-back. He is literally my Virgil van Dijk, and then obviously the legendary goalkeeper Mama Undi, who was the only player really who got close to a 7 rating at 6.97. And you'll notice Kersons is up front because the last 3 or 4 matches where we are, here we are, 3 matches, I thought, let's start him. Let's see if he can get the goal to keep us up. He never, but you know, he grafted. So the 4-4-2 got us up from League 2 into the Premier League eventually, and we've stayed there. So I was going to end it there, but I've just got to see if we can have them established as a Premier League team next season as well. So for one last assault, I upgraded the players. Zion did join us. He jumped ship from West Ham for 5 million. And he's going to have a new strike partner in Rodrigo Muniz, who joins from Feyenoord for 7 million. Then there was a raft of players on free transfers. Carney Chukwuemeka for central midfield. Look at those attributes, shining over that key attribute range. Julian Rip from Inter Milan. They paid 10 million for him a couple of seasons ago. And Adriano Jagasic. Wow, what a player he looks. I'd also moved quickly at the end of last season to seal Edmund Bido for 5 million. Centre-back Martin Vitic for 4 million. And I got a bit of a bargain in Julian Duranville from Borussia Dortmund for 4 million. I've got 2 electric wingers now. It means we've got the strongest team Harrogate I've ever seen and probably will ever see. And because we look so good, we're going to go attacking all season. Why the hell not? Despite those changes, we were still ranked as rank outsiders at 1,000 to 1. Whatever. Because from the moment we started the season with a 2-1 victory over Liverpool with a 93rd minute winner, the ultimate counter-attacking performance, by the way, with 24% possession. We looked like such a much more comfortable team at this level. In fact, we won 6 out of our first 7 Premier League matches. This included counter-attack wins at Manchester United and a quite brilliant counter-attacking goal against Manchester City, which gave us a stunning 3-2 win. Who needs the ball anyway? Of course, we couldn't keep up this scintillating form and had a little blip in February, but we finished the season superb, even getting to the semi-final of the FA Cup, and we ended the season with a quite brilliant away performance at my arch rivals Aston Villa, as we absolutely spanked them 4-1. Harrogate Town break records by finishing 7th above Manchester United and just tucked in behind Liverpool and Arsenal. And we did it being the 2nd top scorers in the league, just behind Man City. It's amazing what an upgraded team can get you, and we worked hard for that over the years. Bringing in experienced talent like Rodrigo Muniz to spearhead the team, and the bit of class on the wings didn't half help. The perfect counter-attacking away possession starts with 37%, a beautifully combative team, 2nd in tackles won, getting plenty of blocks in and winning the ball back a lot. 2nd in goal scoring, only to Manchester City, and the upgrade in the strikers showed as we were top of the conversion rates. And as for Tom Kersons, he managed to get his Premier League goal with an absolute beaut. Today we attempt to go from the bottom, the very bottom, to the very top. We're going to do it using Flair-based technique football. So the club chosen for this endeavour will be Clyde, in the lowest league playable in the Scottish divisions. So we're going to start down in League 2 in Scotland. So the leagues in Scotland are a bunch of smaller teams where you play each other a lot more often. And I think it's fair to say that Scottish football isn't renowned for technique-based, putting flair first, take attacker style. It's more in-your-face physicality, so that's why we're going to do it. We're going to go for the polar opposite in a league that might not be ready for it. So why Clyde? Well, I wanted a team in the lowest division possible. Now, they do have a bit of a history. They've got 16 total honours, no premierships, of course. That's going to be pretty tough with Rangers and Celtic about, but they do have 3 Scottish Cups, 5 championships, and 4 League Ones. The other one I'd like to break is the highest league position ever of 3rd in the top flight. If we can break up the old firm and finish in the top 2, that would be a massive success. But they've also got pretty decent facilities in terms of training and youth facilities, so that should give us a fighting chance. In terms of media prediction, they're not favourites by any means, very much in the middle in position 5 out of 10 at 4-1. So with a small and compact day one squad, it's going to be an interesting challenge to try and get them to the top league. But at least the fans, and particular Kevin, are happy. So what are the goals of this save? Well, it's pretty simple. We're going to try and get Clyde into the Scottish Premier League. And unlike last time when we got Harrogate to the Premier League in England using wing play, we're going to use a possession-based setup, focusing on flair, creativity and technique. And as far as recruitment goes, we are going full moneyball approach, trying to find players from anywhere in the world. And this is where it's going to be tricky because we're going to have to navigate various rules of the league, work permit rules, and the biggest challenge is going to be the day one squad implementing our style into this. Because I thought I'd slot in some key attributes for this team, the DNA of the team if you like, to see what I'm working with in day one. And as you can see, there's not many standout double figures hitting me from the get-go. So I've got locked in first touch, technique, passing, vision, flair, dribbling, composure and off the ball. Those are going to be the key attributes I'm looking for as we recruit these players. But then when we do recruit them, we're going to recruit them based on moneyball. So transitioning these attributes into data approach is going to be a tricky little thing. Now as far as tactics go, we're going for the long-term goal of building the team into a possession-heavy, tick-attacker style team. But as you can see from day one, that might be pretty tricky. Because as expected in the country we have selected, this team are perfectly set up for wing play, route one and direct counter-attack. Basically the exact opposite of what we're going for. So arguably this season might be the toughest because I'm going to have to work with this bunch of players and implement my style of play straight away. So it's not going to be pretty. For example, I want my defenders to play with the ball and I've got a few centre-backs here with first touch of 7, 6... and it doesn't look like I'll be able to rely on bringing players in because I don't really have a transfer budget. And of course in season 1 I have no moneyball data to look at, so I'd be relying solely on attributes. And having a quick look at the players that are available on free transfers, there's not many that are standing out for what we're looking for. Ironically, this team and league would be the perfect setup to go for the 4-4-2 wing play, which I just did with Harrogate. So in season 1 I'm probably going to rely on the players I've got, which I'm totally okay with. It's going to be a case of square pegs round holes. They're going to be forced to play my way. Now the question is, do we have any players at all that have any promise? Well, when I show you Kyle Connell and I get a bit excited, you can kind of show the level we're at because he's probably the better player of what we're looking for. He's got a first touch of 12, a technique of 11, a flair of 10. That's about as good as we've got. But he is a bit of a set piece beast, so that might help. There is one or two dotted around. Jamie Bradley on loan from Queen's Park's got a flair of 14. And Marley Redfern's coming in hot with 10s of first touch, technique, flair of 12. We don't have any of the players that have got double figures across the board though in terms of attributes. Speaking of attribute range, what am I looking for at this level? Well, it's pretty tricky because I think League 2 in Scotland would naturally be ranked a bit lower than League 2 in England. So I'm going to keep my expectations low, and if I can get any attributes at 10 or above at this level, that'd be a massive win. As we move up the leagues, we'll try and have a little look and analyse, but I'm thinking 10 for League 2, 12 for League 1, get to the Championship 13 to 14, and if we can get to Premiership, these key attributes across here, if we can get them at 15 plus, I'll be dancing. So as I got into pre-season, I managed to get 3 players in on free transfers, and even better than that, non-contract, so literally no fee. Johnny Armstrong can play anywhere down the middle, first touch 13, passing 13, technique 14. At this level, he's basically Brazilian. Zach Queen's an interesting fellow. He's got ones all over the place, but then he's got first touch and technique and a little bit of flair. And finally, Michael Bianco, who combines a little bit of first touch and technique with some decent finishing. I think he could be a cheeky little lower league false 9. At this point I wondered, is it too ambitious to insert all these boys into my infamous Stigmata rec tactic, a tactic where the advanced centre backs roam, the channel midfielders roam and the false 9s roam? Probably, but I'm tempted to try it. So I tried it in a pre-season friendly, and to my surprise they absolutely blasted it. Sutherland there is the false 9 who drops off and acts like a wide creator. Watch this for a through ball. So there is a little bit of promise here, and Williamson, well, he can finish. They took to it surprisingly well, so I think with a few tweaks to player roles, this could be a goer. In the first pre-season friendly, we won 5-0 against a non-league team done by United, but the possession was fantastic and we created a ton of chances. I'm actually pretty confident in the front three and the midfielders, but I clearly don't have the centre-backs and full-backs to be able to pull off this system. Having said that, the only foreign player I've got at the club, Sina, the Senegal international, can play in central midfield, but unfortunately he is lacking a little bit in terms of his technical ability. The other centre-back, Craig Howie, can also play in central midfield, ideal for an advanced centre-back. And he's actually not bad. He's got good passing, his technique's okay, as is his first touch, and he's got decent vision. In fact, I've just convinced myself I'm going to go for it, but I will tweak a couple of positions if it starts to fall off. We completed our pre-season adventures with a 3-0 win over Whitburn and a 4-0 win over Pollock. All's looking good so far. And as expected, Kyle Connell looks like being the key man. He's managed to score 6 times in 3 matches. I guess we're about to find how well we are doing, because our first competitive match of the season is in the League Cup against Premier Division Hearts. Now Hearts did blast 3 goals past us. However, summer signing Bianco, who I thought could be a nice false 9, he got himself through and got us 1 back. We lost the game 3-1, but we definitely weren't embarrassed and we dominated the ball, which is exactly what we want to do. So my thoughts are this: if a Premier League team and a top Premier Division team like Hearts beat us 3-1 but we have more of the ball and look pretty good, I think it's worth persevering with. Maybe I just reshuffle things at the back and instead of the advanced centre-backs make them normal, have a couple of wing-backs bombing on, but overall I think we should probably give this a go. As it happens, the start of the season is the perfect time to try this because the League Cup kicks off the season. So you've got 4 matches in this League Cup, so it kind of gives me the chance to try out the tactic. As you can see in this match against FC Edinburgh, it looks pretty good and they are in our division. In the next match against another divisional rival in Stranraer, we passed the ball around nicely, then found a key pass and Sutherland was there again. Then the match that made my mind up, we played Championship side Airdrie, smashed them 3-0, progressed to the next round. Maybe my tiny Clyde team can actually play this way. Overall though, it's a pretty damn impressive start as we look to start our League 2 campaign. There was further cause for optimism as we completely bamboozled Rangers with our passing play and got a draw in the cup. We took them all the way to penalties. Unfortunately, we couldn't quite see the job through, but a hell of an effort. More importantly, how did the League 2 campaign go? Well, we were absolutely flying up until December when a really bad run stopped us from getting away with the league, but we bounced back and continued to dominate the ball. At the halfway stage, we are sitting second in the league, so we're in those playoff positions, but we're pushing hard to get automatic promotion. Some players have absolutely excelled. Craig Howie, one of those ball-playing centre-backs, well, his heading winning percentage is 88%, which is fantastic, alongside his 91% passing percentage. And winning the ball back a decent amount. In terms of tackle win ratio, his fellow centre-back Sina, there he is, more of a defensive midfielder, but I'm playing him as centre-back, and he's given me an astonishing 94% tackle win ratio. However, there is gaps in the team now because loan signings have been recalled by their clubs, so players that weren't necessarily guaranteed starters have had to come into the team. So James Hilton, who's very definitely a midfielder, well, he's going to have to be my new false 9. And striker Scott Williamson, who wasn't in the starting 11 at the start, well, he's my number 1 man now. Come the second half of the season, we've actually had a really good time. We've only lost about 3 games the entire season, and we finished second, just 1 point behind East Kilbride. We had a truly fantastic defensive record, only conceding 25, and we found ourselves in the playoffs, which is League 1, League 2. So Kelty Hearts of League 1 find ourselves in this playoff, and they've been eliminated already. We triumphed over Stirling Albion over 2 legs 5-0, so it was ourselves versus Dumbarton to get into League 1. We won the away leg 1-0. And in the home leg, Hilton, our new false 9, who's not afraid to go out wide like he shows here, provides the assist. And who's there but Connell to smash it in and send us to League 1. So the team managed to get promoted using that fully flowing roaming tactic. We've got ourselves a non-scoring false 9, but that's not why he's in the team. Kyle Connell, 5 goals only from striker, but 15 assists. That's the crucial part. Up front, Williamson and Hilton came in when we lost those 2 loan players. Williamson repaid me with 13 goals in the run-in. And Hilton, the midfielder, was a bit of a revelation, giving me 7 assists and just a cracking average rating. So super pleased to get promoted with Clyde and super pleased that our possession-based football is hitting the ground running. This is a very patient way of playing. As you can see, shots for, we were bottom of the league. We don't take shots when we don't need to. We prefer to pass the ball. It's a similar story with crosses. We don't cross the ball, but when we do, and we're in a good position to do so, we are the best team and most accurate team at it. We kill teams with possession, and when we do lose the ball, we win it back better than anybody else. And a lot of this comes down to the out of possession setup. We drop into a back 5 with the 3 strikers, filling in the gaps in attacking midfield. And we've drew praise from the media as they've noticed what we're doing with the midfielders winning the ball back an absolute ton. So then, that is a bit of a good first season. Really happy with that. Now, the problem we've got is a lot of these players will be out of contract, so we're going to lose them all, which might not be a bad thing because I'm not sure if they're going to be good enough for the step up. Having said that, there's some cracking performances here. Now, Cena, old John Cena here, I mean, I don't rarely see a tackle win ratio above 90 at centre back, and he's got it at 92%. When it comes to the tactic, I joked a bit about the non-scoring striker, Connell. There he is. He only scored 5 goals all season long, bless him, but we were not prolific in terms of scoring goals, so he did his job. Most of the time he spends it back here anyway, so we really do need to rely on a striker as the focal point to score all the goals. Williamson came into the team when the loan player went back to Dunfermline, and he did the job. He scored 12 times in 19, he's got good finishing, he's got decent off the ball, so at this level he was good, but we probably need to upgrade going into League One. In fact, if I'm being brutal looking at that team, I would suggest we need at least 8 players next season. Now, the good thing is a lot of players are out of contract, including our own, so it'll be an easy turnover of players. It's just getting the right ones. And this is where Moneyball is going to come into the fray, because we need to get players that we know can perform at this level. So I'm going to import into the player database my creative player search filter. This will give me things like assists, assists per 90, chances created, key passes. So this will help me find potentially some new false 9 and attacking midfielders. Another way to look for players that you know will do the business at your level is to go to the data hub. In the data hub, if you go to player analytics, you can choose your visuals from a variety of options and positions to see the best players in the league at that metric. So obviously passing is absolutely vital to us. So when it comes to attackers, I can go to passing on attackers and I can see the best players that have played in League 2 under that metric. Then we can explore if they're going to be good enough to make the step up with us to League 1 and see if they're out of contract like so many of my players are. You can also use it to rule players out. Jamie Richardson, after a quick look, you can see he's just not good enough. This approach has led me to Jason Jarvis, who's got a 0.2 assist per 90 minutes record, and he's doing that from the team that finished rock bottom in FC Edinburgh. So I knew he was good in terms of assists, and when I looked at him closer and his attributes, he had the first touch, he had the technique, the passing and the flair, and he's out of contract, the perfect player for us. So I'm going to carry that on now and try and see what players I can get to bulk my squad out and importantly get some starters. I'm going to use this technique using the data hub from my current league to get some players who I think will be good enough for League 1 because the quality of standard should be kind of similar. And I'm going to use the database search as well. Now I'm prioritising creativity for the attackers. Not worried about goal scoring yet. When I look for a goal scorer, I'm just going to hone in simply on goal scoring. But I'm also looking for passing from everybody. At this stage, I won't only rely on data. I'm going to have a look at my scout recommendations as well. Anyone of A+ standard will deserve a look. And to be fair, they are throwing up some good options. So as I was getting ready for the new season, in pre-season, I was being pretty harsh on the positions that I would need to improve. As you can see, not many players are going to survive this. Ryan Kinnear will survive. He's not exactly what I need in terms of a goalkeeper, in terms of ball playing, but I just can't ignore the fact that he was fantastic last season. But the recruitment drive is in full flow. We've got a range of players on the way in come the end of their contract. In fact, we've got 8 confirmed on the way in. And it means now I've got myself a nice little team going into League 1. So my new striker, the guy I just want to get goals, is Ricardo Gabain. Last season in the non-leagues of English football, but he scored 17 at 33 at 0.5 goals per match. Had to have him. In the false 9 spot will be Mark Stowe. He's got the technique, the first touch and the flair, and he's coming off a season with 9 assists at 0.3. Pass completion, his key passes, his assists per 90 minutes. He's going to be a nice little signing. At centre back we've got Christian Webster. Now we're not going to find cultured centre backs at this level, but he's pretty close with that first touch, technique and passing. Webster's metrics were pretty impressive. Good tackle ratio and crucially good passing completion as well because he's going to move forward. Midfield is where the action really comes in. Robbie Thompson ticks every box. First touch, passing, technique, vision and flair. He'll be joined by 6'5" Jack McIver. Here's a kid who didn't get a chance at Elgin. He barely played, but I can see something in him. I've also took a punt on 38-year-old Carl Lafferty who comes in off the bench. But I am devastated that I wasn't able to get the sign-in of Dominguez, a 42-year-old winger. A couple of things on Dominguez. He's played 118 times for Mozambique, so I'm not sure why we couldn't get a work permit. But if I looked like that when I was 42, I'd be a happy man. Another good move was getting players released by top-tier teams, such as Lucas Smith, released by Hearts. So I'm just at that stage now where I'm waiting for the game to click over to establish us as a League 1 side. But as far as the starting 11 goes, I'm pretty happy. I'm not expecting us to pull up trees, but we've had a massive turnover of players. But we've got a full squad now, I do plan to go into the transfer market a little bit more when the season's about to kick off and get some loan signings from the top division to bulk out the squad, give a little bit of extra quality. But the bulk of the team is in and ready and locked in. And now when you look at the squad a bit more broadly, using the filter of the technique-based attributes, the DNA of our squad, there's definitely a better range of attributes now. We are on the way up, slowly but surely, and the board's realistic expectations are just simply avoid relegation this season, so this might be a tough ask. But when the media prediction came in, it showed how well we'd done with recruitment in the summer using data, as they rank us in 6th position at 33-1. I'll take that. Unsurprisingly, it looks like a two-horse race between the two relegated teams of Greenock Morton and Dunfermline, and when you look at the media Dream 11, it's literally just those two teams. And hopes for the season continued to be high as we pushed Premiership side Kilmarnock all the way to penalties in the League Cup. And in doing so, maintaining nearly 60% possession. I'm ready for this season, come on. Amazingly, 3 out of our 4 League Cup games all went to penalties, and we lost them all. And then we lost our first League One game of the season, a disappointing game against Montrose. But then it was back to Clyde and we got our first win of the season at home to Stenhouse Muir. And Van centre-back Cena, staying in the team, somehow found himself down the right-hand side, and he laid the ball on for Scullion to do this. So if you take into account those League Cup games were technically draws, we've only lost one of our first bunch of matches. Things are looking good. However, our physical frailties started to expose us as the season drew on and we started to lose a ton of matches. We were nowhere near as solid as the season before and we just weren't defending well. There were some positives, the loan signing of Jameson Ford from Ayr United, what a great player he was. And midfielder Robbie Thompson looks like a great signing as well. One of the best midfielders in the league with key passes and assists and pass completion. But the team overall, after a great first half of the season, we fell away really badly in the second half of the season. Despite a late tactic change which did improve things greatly, it prompted us to win 6 out of our last 8 matches, but it wasn't enough as we missed out on the playoffs by 3 points, finishing exactly where the media said we would. So no back-to-back promotions, but a pretty solid season nonetheless. I've got big decisions to make now, whether we stick with this new version of the tactic where 2 inverted wingbacks come inside, or we stick with Old Faithful and go for better players. So we're deep into pre-season now. I said I was either going to change the tactic or go for better players. Well, I've done both. Now don't get me wrong, I wanted to keep faith with a lot of the team from last season because I think they did pretty well, but I've only brought in 6 players and a few of those, well quite a lot, are actually from the League of Ireland because that's the sort of level we're able to get players from. So we've got a striker here in Calvin McMurray. You can see what stands out straight away, can't you? He's finishing. He's even got good heading, but he's also got the technique and the first touch. He ticks a lot of boxes. And last season for Ballymena United, he scored 9 times in 35 appearances, but when you look closer, a lot of those were off the bench. His actual goals per game, goals per 90-minute ratio was like 0.6. The next guy coming in from Ireland is Connor Falls. I see this guy as a perfect false 9. He can play either attacking midfield or striker. So that should mean he should be pretty adept at playing false 9, despite what these infamous star ratings may tell you. But the big signings came at the back end of last season, where we got free agents who were released from the bigger teams. So you think of your Celtics, your Hearts, these type of players. For example, this is Jude Bonner, released by Celtic. Never got a look in there, but attribute-wise, he looks pretty damn good. Also released by Celtic was Kyle Yer, is that how you say it? Yer? For argument's sake, let's say Kyle, but he's another 21-year-old from Celtic who was out on loan last season. So there was a few other additions as well. We'll see if they're going to be starters or not, but as you can see, I have tweaked a great deal here, and I'm just wondering whether to go with this for the season. I'm going to try it in pre-season. I've had a couple of matches, loosely inspired by Johan Cruyff's tactics, where we've got the 3 centre-backs covering everywhere, and then we've got a couple of wider players, but I've got them as playmaking wingers, so they're not going to stick out there. Now there should be movement all over the place. And after a couple of matches in pre-season, it looked good. A big thumping 3-0 win against Glencairn, and then a 4-2 defeat against Nottingham Forest of the Premier League. But when you look closer at this match, although we did give away a lot of chances, which is natural to a top team like that, we did dominate the ball with 69% possession, which is pretty impressive. So I'll keep using this in pre-season. If it doesn't go like I want it to, we can always drop back into the other tactics that we've got set up. So there's a few reasons why I like this. This is against Forest. You can see the setup there. You've got your 3 across the top, your 4 in midfield, and your 3 centre-backs with 1 more advanced in Howie. But the 2 wide players are quite narrow. Now when we get going, what I love about this is the rotations of the players and how confident they are on the ball. Now out wide here, we've got our wide playmaker, but the most wide player is about to be our false 9 Falls when it comes to him. There's Addis to Bonner, there's Falls. When you first look at the system, you think there it's really narrow, we're going to have no width, but look at that, we've got him out there. We've even got the wide playmaker tucking in behind him, but he's got so much free reign, so he can roam anywhere. He ends up in the box, and he's actually going to end up being the one who scores the goal here from the cross. So I'm going to at least start with this and see how it does. I do know the team can perform with the other tactic. We've got better players now, so maybe this is a risk I shouldn't be taking, but I've got to give it a go. Now, interestingly, despite me thinking we've had a better pre-season in terms of transfers, we are actually ranked lower down in position 8 at 33-1. A little bit worrying. But cause for optimism, we do have one player in the Dream 11, and that is Jude Bonner, who we did get from Celtic. So hopefully he's going to have a big season. As we got to the midway point of the season, the free-flowing, attacking football was working a treat. We were totally demolishing teams in terms of possession. And by resting players for the cup games, the league campaign went fantastically right up until December. Despite December, we are top of the league by 2 points, and we're defending superbly, but you can just see the form drop off right now. I think this happened to us last season as well. Having said that, I have stuck with this tactic for this season, and it's worked well so far. Okay, it's gone well. I probably shouldn't change anything, but I'm just a bit worried about this December run we've been on here. As you can see, it includes a couple of cup games, but we haven't won in the league in a little while, and 3 defeats in of our last 6 matches or so. Right, it's my old Achilles heel, where I think the out of possession is not matching the quality of the in possession. Now, if you look at the out of possession, I've got my 2 wingers dropping back to wing backs, but they don't want to be there. Bonner, for example, has absolutely no defensiveness about him at all, really. And on the other side, Thompson is probably even worse. He's more of an attacking player, doesn't want any part of defending. So the question is, do we change this, even though we've got the best defence in the league? I think I've just answered my own question, and I should just brave it and see it through. We probably need the new striker though. Gamain got injured and his attributes are in free fall. So I got a striker in from Dundee United. He looks a good player, Finlay Simpson, but he's not as good as the boys I had on loan last season, and he's only scored twice in the league. But I feel like I just need to get one player in to help us out, even though we are top of the league at the halfway stage. Interesting second half of the season. The highlight undoubtedly was this match against Cove Rangers, where we battered them 5-0 and looked pretty much unstoppable. When this tactic works, it works perfectly well like that, with 72% of the ball. And then 2 games later, we lost 5-1. In fact, the second half of the season was very inconsistent. We got a few wins which kept us up there. We end the season in 3rd place, so that means we're going into the playoffs. In the playoffs, we'll be playing Airdrie, who are one of the pre-season favourites, and they battered us most of the time this season. The team overall has performed well, and Howie, our advanced centre-back, has established himself as the best centre-back in the league. And the boys that came from the big teams last season have had a good season. Bonner, playing as a wide playmaker, was one of the best players in the league. Connor Falls took the role as non-scoring false 9. A pretty good overall performance, just need more goals from him. Believe it or not, my best attacker was day 1er Kyle Connell. He's one of the most creative strikers in the league, with 0.3 assists per 90 minutes and a decent level at key passes at 2.4. And now it's time for this playoff final, and all signs point to it being a super tight affair. And it was a super tight match, but we did get a crucial 2-0 home win in the first leg. In the second leg, we got absolutely battered, but survived 0-0 and go to the playoff final. And this is where it gets super tough, because we're up against Championship side Raith Rovers. But let's stay positive, because they only won 8 games all season. And this was the game where day 1er Kyle Connell became an instant Clyde legend. He laid on the assist for the first, and he smashed in the second, giving us a vital 2-1 win. The second leg was all about another day 1er. Advanced centre-back Howie pinging that assist in. An absolute beaut of a through ball. And a little later, the crucial second went in, as he gets the credit for this assist, but let's be fair, this is all about left-sided player Bonner. Raith Rovers had no answer, and we beat them 4-2, and we've got little Clyde into the Championship. We do it with the best possession in the league. We didn't quite get up to 60%, but we were still the best team in terms of on the ball, and crucially this time we created the most chances. And we're still not crossing it. Right, so then, this did get us into the Championship, but I don't mind telling you I'm not going to use that tactic in the higher division, because this record in the second half of the season was pretty brutal. Just losing too many matches and some random heavy defeats like a 5-1er. It's a good tactic, it's just a little bit carnage, because I don't think I've quite got the out of possession stuff quite right. So Tinkerman will be back next season for sure. Now, in terms of attributes, this is our best squad yet, but when we get to the Championship, I'm going to be looking a lot higher. I'm going to be looking for key attributes in the 13 to 14 range at the minute. A few players have got that, but not many, so I'm going to have a good look around. In terms of the team performance, we saw how good Craig Howie was and Jude Bonner and a few others, but I am a bit worried about the lack of chances created throughout the team. And as far as assists per 90 goes, 0.3 is really good, but we've only got 4 players doing that, and then it drops off dramatically. So I do need a bit more creativity, especially with the way we play. Big job on here. I need to find the right tactic. I might even go back to the season 1, but with some tweaks, because the Championship's going to be pretty rough. And as far as the transfer budget goes, well, we're going to have to box clever because we've only got 30,000, so it could be time to have a look at those free agents. Get that creative player search filter in, and let's have a look and see if we can find some free transfer bargains. So then, the Championship, we have arrived. Well, we were rated low. Well, you could say very low, as we are expected nailed on to get relegated. And as the season went on, I was tempted to try some new tactics and some original ones. But after recruitment in the summer, the squad improvement was plain to see, with the attribute levels all rising. And we managed to grab some exciting players like Felipe Fuentes from Colombia. Last season, he managed 0.6 goals per match, and he's basically getting that for us with 13 this season. We also grabbed the incredibly talented Tyrone Samba, no relation to Cherno, from Man City, released. And we'd even managed to get a couple of ball-playing centre-backs from the League of Ireland. So going into the season, I was quite optimistic that we'd avoid relegation. With my 2 new centre-backs looking really comfortable in midfield, the system looked to be working well early in the season. And it really helped our new striker from Colombia getting off the mark in the first game of the season. You could say it was a dream start because we followed up a 4-0 with a 5-0 and then a 1-0, winning our first 3 matches. But then we dropped off quite a bit as teams seemed to work us out. But come the midway point of the season, we seem to have got it back on track, and we're sitting higher than anyone could imagine in 3rd position. At this point, I decided to double down since we were safe and try to get some better players in. This led me to the brilliant Ibrahim Assau from Senegal. Now, I got him from the iconic Generation Foot, an absolute factory of top quality players. And as you can see from his attributes, this guy could be something unbelievably special. The improvement in my scouts showed when we managed to recruit Ryogo Kida from Japan. Playing for Nyoga Grampus in the J1 League, he scored 10 times last season, so he looked like a good goal scorer and he ticked our attribute markers, so yep, I had to have him. There was also quality recruits in defence, Frenchman Jaylan Serga and Englishman Jaden Joseph. And the scouts led me back to Senegal for an end of contract signing. Bernard's going to join us at the end of the season. He's already banged 13 goals in 34 matches. And he's doing it at 0.5 goals per match. I think he can translate really well to Scottish football. And interestingly, I'm tempted to stay in Senegal because there's some quality players over here. So the second half of the season, the form carried on. It looked really good. So this led to a wildly inconsistent season where we won as many matches as we lost. We didn't draw any games, but we did get enough matches to get to the playoffs. In the playoffs, we drew promotion favourites Dundee United, incidentally a club that tried to recruit myself. In the first leg, we drew 1-1 with the exciting combination of Sau and Samba linking up. Samba scored twice in the second leg, but unfortunately for us, Dundee United just had too much for us and beat us 3-2, knocking us out at the semi-final stage. So really disappointing to get knocked out of the semi-final stage, but ecstatic at the overall season because we weren't expected to do much. We finished the season in 4th position. We weren't that far off the top. There was a late surge from Partick Thistle and they just left everybody, but we did make the playoffs. And truth be told, I tried so many formations this season. Once we were safe, I was just trying all sorts, including this one near the end of the season, because the quality of players that we've brought in now, we've got a really good technical team. Like the scouts deserve a knighthood for this one. Ibrahim Assau is already valued at 450,000. Now I don't go on about stars that much in terms of ability, current and potential, but look at that. That just looks really pretty, both of them 5 stars. So when he came in and he's steadfast at wanting to play attacking midfield, I wanted to build the system around him really. And he repaid me with 11 goal involvements in 16. He's going to be a big time player next season. So before he came in, Samba was the main man. So Samba, as a reminder, came from Man City, never got a kick. This was purely an attribute signing because the dribbling, the first touch, the technique, the passing, the flair, the vision, he's absolutely what we wanted. And he was really good. 15 goals and 7 assists. Where his best position is, I'm not sure. He looks like a perfect false 9, but he also wants to play off the striker. So we had them two, and we had Felipe, my man from Colombia. he got a bit overshadowed by both of them near the end of the season. Still finished with 15 goals. Another player we need to get involved next season. So we've now got an abundance of talent. Now look at the difference in this technical ability of this squad now. After a few seasons, we have got them up there now, haven't we? There's some little shining lights like 15s standing out. There's a random player here, Liam Trotter, who didn't get much of a kick, but look at this. He should have more of a go next season. He came from a university team. So we are all set up. It's basically on me. I need to get the best tactics to get the best out of these boys. And remember, we've got that young Senegalese player coming in as well, Bernard. And I mean, he's going to be a great player as well. I have got so much attacking talent now. I just need to get the right tactic to get these boys promoted. In terms of overall performance, when you look at goals per 90 minutes, it's pretty damn impressive. There's a load on 0.5, 0.4, 0.3. Assists per 90 were really good. Disregard the 0.8 because that's from a player that hardly started, but there's 0.6s, 0.5s, 0.4s. We're definitely getting better. You can see the way we play when you look at crosses attempted per 90 minutes, and 5.9 is the biggest one. I mean, that is pitiful. We just don't cross the ball. In terms of defending, there is some areas of the team we can improve. The headers won percentage from the starters wasn't great. It was down in the 70s. Tackle win ratio remained pretty high, but dropped off quite a lot as well. But I guess that's what you get when you're playing players that are predominantly midfielders as your centre-backs. I've got a lot of thinking to do about the tactic for next season. But the good news is I am happy with the squad now. We've got a fully technical squad. It's very rare you play a game in FM, a save, where you just completely disregard physicals. I couldn't tell you the physicals of some of these players because I'm not even looking at them. But I've got so much attacking talent now. That tactic got found out pretty fast. This one was probably the most successful, where we had a couple of playmaking wingers. Bonner, for example, the kid from Celtic, did really well with 13 assists. The challenge now is to get the tactic to suit these players. I've got something in mind which is massively attacking, but it might be a bit of a risk. Right then, what a time we have had in this pre-season. I mean, my scout recommendations. I'm not understating this. This is some of the best players that I've signed so far on FM26. Highlighted by this guy, Musa Diouf, who I'm about to get. I'm just waiting for his work permit to come through. You ready? Now bear in mind, we are a championship side in Scotland. This boy is about to join us. It's Senegal again. He was brought to my attention by the World Cup under-20. You can see he's been playing in it. 1 assist in 5 matches. Sent my scouts out there. They came back with him. I mean, attribute-wise, it's absolutely fantastic. And he's not the only one who's joined. We've got a few players joined now. A lot of them from Africa. From the same club as Diouf, we've got Milton Lopez, a striker. I actually spent money on this guy, but you can probably agree I was right to. So he cost me 55,000, which is a record for Clyde. But last season he scored 12 times in 34, 13 the season before that. And he's only 19. Again, from the World Cup under-20, he scored 4 times in 5 matches. Cannot believe we've got him. And as you can see, he's started for us pretty well. Stefan Negru is our new centre-back. Tiny change in philosophy in that he's not elite on the ball. His first touch, his technique, his vision and his passing are all 9, but he's a little bit stronger in terms of physicality, and I think he'll help the overall package. Our next player is our new midfield linchpin. This is Brazilian, whose name is back, and he's not playing half-back, but he might end up there. Comes in from Paranense. As you can see, he played in Serie A last season. It wasn't great, but it's a bit of an attribute signing, and just for the fact that I really wanted a Brazilian. So what that has done to our squad is it's our best squad yet in terms of technicality. It's fantastic. The only players that are lacking in flair and dribbling are a few of the older players from League One. But it does mean now we can try something tactically, and I've got 2 we're going to try this season, and it's going to be entertaining. So let me introduce you to this season's tactic. I said we're going to have to use the forwards and maximise them, and we are going for it. So this is built off a GTS tactic that we've used in the past. It came from FM24. I transferred it over to FM26. In fact, the other version is here, and that's going to be our backup tactic. The difference with this version is you've got 2 wing backs who get further on. My edited version for this team is here, where we've got one of the wing backs being a playmaking wing back, spending most of his time in there. So we're keeping that narrow play, inside fullback, and playing Bonner in his best position as a playmaking winger. Now this is risky and it might not work, and yes, we'll probably concede a hell of a lot of goals, but if it does work, we might just get to the Premier League using this system with our new better players. Even the bench is stacked now. I also got another player in from Africa in Nigerian defender Afolabi Taiwo. Here's a guy who just broke into the Jigawa Golden Stars team, but his heading ratio was absurd at 95%. Now granted, that's probably the league he's playing in, and he is only 5'11", but he's a bit of a rough ball of clay that we can mould. In pre-season we looked good, including this game against Airdrie, where we just did not give them a kick. So you can see how attacking we're going to be. We've got our 2 centre-backs staying back, and then we've basically got our front 5 up there. Against FC Edinburgh, we used the other tactic, so the more narrow version, blasted 5 in, but we were a little bit dodgy at the back. But in the final League Cup game, we beat Premiership side Kilmarnock on penalties. It bodes well. It's going to be an interesting season. We've got a bit more respect from the odds makers. They're expecting us to have an outside chance of making those playoffs. I mean, they're saying position 5 at 25 to 1, but I think we're going to have a bit more of a better chance than that. I'm quite shocked though, we've got not one player in the Dream 11. Time to prove these lot wrong. And we started off fantastically. We won our first 4 matches, indeed proving them wrong. So some of the attacking play is beautiful. We literally walk the ball in against teams with this beautiful Flair technique style. Fair to say, the boys are absolutely loving the attacking play. There were some thumping wins in the first half of the season, and some absolute carnage football. 4-6, a win against Inverness, and on the flip side, a 6-3 defeat to Ross County. That's kind of how the first half of the season went. Having said that, in 23 matches we won 15 of them, so we're sat in second, only 1 point off Ross County. A complete shift in the way we play as we're going at over 2 goals a match, but we are conceding a lot of goals, but we might just have to score goals to get ourselves promoted. And the big news is that front 5 are linking up beautifully. No matter what system we play, the chemistry is off the chain. Now, do you remember Kyle Connell, our day 1 player? Well, he's still here, still at the club, getting a bit less game time, but he's still doing the business as he scored twice against rivals Ross County in a game we absolutely dominated. When we're good, we're really good, and 27 shots against our biggest rival was really good. This meant with 4 games to go, we sit on top of the table, having only lost once in the second half of the season. We've got 66 points. We are in grasp of the Premiership. However, somehow we've managed to only win 1 out of our last 8 matches, making this one of the worst title run-ins of all time. Following this 3-3 draw at home to Greenock Morton in a game where we absolutely destroyed them but were so sloppy at the back, our lead stood at just 2 points going into the last game of the season, and it's against Ross County. However, their form has been patchy at best and they're out of the title running. It's actually between ourselves and Dundee. So the big game arrives and we managed to concede amazingly after 45 seconds. And then not long later, it was 2-0. And before half time, it was 3-0. Absolute disaster. Thankfully, just before half time, the team actually woke up and started playing football, and we gave ourselves a fighting chance going into the second half. Into the second half we went. After firing up the team at half time, I watched on as we managed to get another goal back. The miracle was on. But we lost 3-2. From the great form here, we had the worst title run-in you'll probably ever see a team have.
Are you ready?
However, our rivals were just as bad, and somehow we managed to stay on top and clinch promotion to the SPL. And all this when probably rightly our supporters were questioning my tactics. So a truly balmy season with the worst run-in of all time, we still managed to get promoted by 1 point. Don't get me wrong, we smashed in 77 goals, but we had the second worst defence in the entire league. Despite topping the possession table and all of the attacking metrics, it's pretty clear we can't play like that in the top division. Honestly, that was stressful. That's the worst run-in I've ever done. I thought we were doomed, but thankfully everyone was rubbish, so we managed to get up. Now, the tactic, well, it's not going to hold faith next season. There's just no way. So most of the time I dropped into this one because it just performed better than the one we set up with initially with the winger. The big problem, and it's probably a theme if you're following this save and a lot of my saves, I couldn't get the auto possession to work. I've switched it to this. I mean, despite the chemistry looking really good with all that front 5 absolutely loving playing together, we just weren't defending well, so I dropped into a 4-3-3. I tried numerous different ones, I just could not get it working. You can see how many different tactics I used out of possession. The 4-3-3 DM wide meant we conceded a chance every 71 minutes. I started the season with this one, which was probably a better choice, given that it only conceded a goal every 102. There was also a 4-2-4 variation that didn't really work. I tried 4-4-1-1. Too many tweaks. Now, the one thing I did do right was when I signed all these attacking players was just to play to their strengths, and they managed to get us promoted. If you look at Samba, who we got from Man City, head and shoulders above most creative midfielders in the entire division. It's a good all-round performance with goals per 90 at 0.3, his expected assists to 0.2, just a quality false 9 display. Similar story for Milton Lopez. We knew he was going to be good. He bagged 14 goals this season, and he gave me more than just goals, to be fair to him. His assist per 90 was 0.4, which is fantastic, especially when you add that to his goals per 90 of 0.4. The third striker, Bernard, again, overall performance, fantastic. So those three have got to be in the team next season. It's just about the tactic we get around them. Defensively, we've got a good one in Stefan Negru. Now, he came from Bromley in League One in England. And as far as defending goes, look at that. He outshone everyone in nearly every department. The only one he wasn't outshining anyone was clearances, but his tackle win ratio was amazing. And in terms of headers, he was the top guy in the entire league. So what we've got here is 3 or 4 fantastic players that I'm convinced will be able to do the job in the step up. I just, again, I need to get the right tactic around them. Because I've got the squad now, which is full of technical prowess. Obviously, we're going to need a few better players when we get to the top division. And the only goal is to survive. And it's a good job we got promoted because teams are already sniffing around some of our best players that we plucked from Senegal. We've got Aberdeen, Falkirk, Hibernian, Motherwell and St Mirren all looking at Moussa Diouf, who did score 11 times in 33 matches from midfield. I've also been taking a look at physical attributes of my team because I've just never looked. Now, when I tell you this is a centre-back's physical column, you'll see the sort of problems we might be having because we're not looking at physicals at all. We're probably really lacking in that department. So that might be something to bear in mind as we look to recruit. We might need to have a little look at physicals as well as the technical attributes. But the board at the minute have only gave me a little under 60,000 to spend. That's peanuts. It looks like I'm going to have to rely on database and scout recommendations to find me some players. And as you can see, they're looking far and wide. So we've done it. We are a Premier League team, but the bookmakers don't think we're going to stay there. Indeed, they're ruthlessly saying we're going to finish bottom, and not just bottom, but 900 to 1 bottom. And it's probably no surprise to see that the entire Media Dream 11 is consisted of Celtic and Rangers players. So with us being rank outsiders to even survive, recruitment was going to be key. That's why I got some new scouts in to help broaden the scouting range. New chief scout Jakub from Poland had a massive scouting knowledge of loads of places around Europe, Georgia, Poland, Switzerland, even a little hint of South America in Chile and Peru. And we doubled down by getting another scout with great knowledge in Dorian Devere, Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, but also great knowledge of Ivory Coast and Senegal, 2 places where we look already. The problem was the recruitment budget because they gave us next to nothing to spend. And that meant we would largely be relying on our squad from last season. However, I did manage to get some quality players in, only spending 135,000. That was on brilliant Senegalese midfielder Diakite. With outstanding passing technique and flair, he looks like something special, and with an added emphasis on physicality as well. What's not to love? That was the scout pickup, but as for data pickups, we had Dylan Monroe from Crusaders. This is Dylan coming in from the Irish leagues. Check out that first touch, that passing, that technique. So last season in Ireland, he bagged 16 goals and 7 assists because he's a bit of a drop-off striker, and as you can see by his all-round performance, he should be the perfect fit for us. Next in was Charlie McCann, a central midfielder from the lower leagues in England. Barrow, to be precise, 46 appearances last season. Trained in the Manchester United Academy, he's got good technique, first touch, flair and passing. With a pass completion rate of 92% and a key passes of 2.1 per match, he's going to be a reliable backup. The next signing was from Belgium, Benjamin De Porter, a 20-year-old left-back. He's got a few things going for him. It was the technique that alerted me to him, but also look at that determination, and his physicalities are fantastic. So this will be a big step up because he's only playing at amateur level last season, but he had a tackle win percentage of 85%, and at that average rating, I thought it was worth a punt. So what about the tactic for this season? Now, I said I was going to change it, but I just think we're going to concede a ton this season, whatever we do, so let's try and keep attacking for our season in the Prem. So this is the new version of the tactic we've been kind of rocking for a few seasons now. It's the Clyde false 9 box where we've got 2 false 9s, Sow in behind. I mean, that front 4 I'm excited about. So naturally, because of the jump to the Premiership, our player values have gone up. So for example, Samba, the youngster we got from City, has got a top line of $500,000. Sow has had a big increase up to 1.5 million. Similar for Lopez, top line of $1 million. And new signing Monroe, 1.2. So we've got a good bunch of attacking players. As always, it's going to be the defensive side of the game. They're going to have a big job on. We've got the new player De Porter at left back. We've got our Brazilian who's a midfielder, but I've kind of converted him into a right back. Think of João Cancelo, he's that sort of player for us. And at centre back, we've got the ever reliable Negru, and next to him, we've got a new player in Joe Johnson, again a player from the lower leagues in England. So the first clutch of games is a good warm-up, because not only do we have friendlies, but we've got that League Cup group stage, which is always a nice little competitive style of friendly. And on his debut, Dylan Monroe played fantastically with 3 assists and a goal in a 5-1 win over Greenock Morton. Promising. But then the league started, and it was a 3-0 defeat to St Mirren in match 1, and in match 2 it was a home defeat to Motherwell. So this shows how difficult this season may well be, and Lopez, well, he lost his head in the first match and got a red card. So at that point I was fearing the worst, but then came an away match against Aberdeen. This was a match where we played some stunning football, and somehow we scored 7 times. What an introduction to the Premiership that is. In the very next match, we score 5 away at Hearts. What is going on? In our first game against Rangers, we got a deserved draw 1-1 at Ibrox, and we'd bounced back unbelievably well from those opening 2 defeats to go on a 10-game undefeated run. We were making those 900 to 1 odds look a little bit stupid, but then Celtic came to our spot and battered us 4-1. So that ended our 10-game undefeated streak, but there's no need to panic and change tactics because look at the match stats, we performed fantastically. There was an opportunity to bring one more player in. Goalkeeper Renato Marin came in from PSG of all places. He's actually really good, and he can probably play outfield because he's got first touch of 10, passing of 10 and decent vision as well. And he's had a good effect, only conceding 19 goals in the 16 appearances he's played in the Premiership. That meant at the midway point of the season we were top 5, completely defying the odds. And we've also got a game in hand. We've scored 36 and we've only conceded 26, largely thanks to that new goalkeeper. So at this stage, there was absolutely no need to change his tactic. We are actually on the cusp of getting into Europe. Top 4, I think the 4th place gets into the Conference League. It's a good dream to have. So Diakite, who is the big hope, has just got himself fit again and he's starting to cook. He's going to be something special. As far as the strikers go, Lopez, here he is, our boy Milton, great first name. Scored 9 in 18 in the league, so he's going at 0.5 goals per match, but he's got 16 in 25 overall. He's had a fantastic time in the League Cup. In fact, if you look at the team as a whole, so most of the strikers, their expected assists per 90 minutes, we've got 3 at 0.4, which is elite level. So is the key passes per 90. Anything over 2.5 I deem pretty fantastic, and we've got 3 guys topping 3. Player of the season so far has been Ibrahim Assau. He's playing in the pocket in the number 10 position, and he's got 10 assists already and 7 goals. And look at him in terms of creativity, completely squashing the rest of the Premiership. The only disappointment, we got to the semi-finals of the League Cup, drew 5-5, I kid you not, against Dundee before going out on penalties. But we've still got the Scottish Cup to fight for, and we're currently sitting in position 5 in the Premiership. We're going to push on for the second half of the season and see if we can get the impossible dream of getting this tiny team into Europe. Going into the second half of the season, I did want to bring some more players in, but the board were just not playing ball with that recruitment budget. And the small squad started to cost us because from January through February, we had a wretched run. There was only this win against St Johnstone, a 6-2er, that got us out the rut. And despite some brave performances against the bigger teams, overall the second half of the season only gave us 5 league wins, which meant we missed out on a dream European place but still finished in a very respectable top 5 position. Overall though, I'm so happy with the team, and that front 4 are very formidable and they've proved they're good enough for this league. Milton Lopez finishes with 20 goals for the season, fantastic effort, and look at his data chart, outstanding overall. Same story for the big creators Ibrahim Assau, and even more so Tyrone Samba. 19 assists at 0.4, very nearly 0.5. Fantastic. So close to getting into Europe, but top 5 after we were 900 to 1, remember, I think that's pretty good. And we've achieved our goal. We've come from the bottom to the top, just totally focusing on Flair. And by bringing in players like the left back from Belgium, who were just as good physically as they were technically, we're a bit of an all-round team now. So going forward, this team and squad might have a chance to get into Europe. So although this tactic is probably the best version we've used so far, I'm just wondering if we can afford to drop one of the false 9s alongside Sau to go for a more traditional style of Brazilian box. The reason I say that is because both Munro and Samba up front, although were good, they weren't prolific in terms of goal scoring. Only 8 in the league for Munro, but what a player he looks. And Samba, only 6 in the league, so maybe if we drop them off, get them a bit more involved in the number 10 slot next to Sau, then maybe make one of the other strikers an out-and-out striker like Lopez, we might be a bit more ruthless. And I say that because we did finish top in terms of chances created. Our Flair-based approach worked, we just needed someone else to help put the goals in the back of the net, someone else to take the pressure off young Milton Lopez. So that is an option. So what we're going to do is, normally I would call it a day there because we've achieved our goal, bottom to top. But we're going to come back next time and give ourselves up to 5 seasons to try and perfect this team, potentially with an even better version of this tactic with a few extra players using moneyball and scouting. And in those 5 seasons, who knows, maybe we can break up this dominance of the Glasgow clubs. I built a Flair based team using moneyball, getting from the bottom to the top division. We've done it using various expressive tactics, relying on moneyball to bring in the players. And after defying the odds in our first season at the top flight, finishing in position 5, it's time for the boys to kick on. Right then, here we are, phase 2. Now if you missed the first section, check out this video here, 50 minutes long, of how we went from the bottom league, so League 2 in Scotland, to the Premiership, but we got there. Now the fun stuff happens. So we start our second phase of this journey by getting pretty harsh and releasing 10 of the players. And unfortunately that does include the legend Craig Howie and Kyle Connell, who just retired. Gotta love that in a way. So now I've got to set about improving this team, and when I looked at the first 11, I don't really think I can improve it that much. It's going to be more about getting the right backups in. Of course, if an outstanding player becomes available, I will swoop. And one outstanding player did come available. Jack Fletcher, formerly of Manchester United. Well, he was available on a free transfer and I couldn't turn it down with that technique, that first touch and that passing and vision ability. Although he didn't play last season, he has spent time in the SPL with Dundee United and Aberdeen and looked good. And we're going to need him because we just got the big news that because Celtic won the Cup, we get a place in the Conference League. That's pretty stunning reward for this team we've built. And speaking of rewards, Tyrone Samba swept the board in terms of Player of the Year, getting both the Players' Player of the Year and the Football Writers' Player of the Year. And when you look at his creativity last season, it's not hard to see why. He was outstanding, and if he can keep that assist ratio up, we might have a chance next season. So at this point, it's probably worth having a quick recap of the goals of the save. So it's pretty simple. We needed to get to the top league from League 2, which we've done, using a flair and technique based style, and use the moneyball model to try and recruit players and evaluate our squad. So that means the DNA of the squad is all about the technical side of the game, the first touch, the passing, the vision, not really thinking about physical aspects. So that crosses over when we evaluate our squad with the metrics. We're looking for things like assists, key passes, chances created. And I don't spend a whole lot of time on the defending data. I probably should, but I'm prioritising playing beautiful football. And that crosses over into our player searching as well, where we look for particular metrics and particular types of players. So it's time to really dial in and find the right players, and I'm going to get my scouts involved. First one I'm looking for is a striker as backup. I'm going to send Dorian to sort that out. And the one position we could probably get a starter is centre back. Jakub is on the case. We'll also have a little look on the database search using our metrics, but the board haven't really backed us as we've only got a little over 200,000 to spend. We're going to have to box clever. So yeah, it's a good job I'm happy with the starting 11, and I have made a slight change. I talked about going to a standard Brazilian box, and this is the change I'm thinking of doing. It's going to be tough because this version was fantastic and creative, but this one might get the best out of our players. Target wise, our creativity was fantastic. Sau, incredible. And with Milton Lopez up front, we've got a great goal scorer. So I'm prioritising squad players, and I've got 2 sorted already. Moussa Fofana comes in from the Ivory Coast, 18 assists this season from midfield. For his club, he's got 0.6 assists per 90. That's incredible. Whether he can do that at this level, we will wait and see. I've also tied up a deal for Max Merrick. He might actually push the #1 goalkeeper because he's basically Edison when it comes to the ball at his feet. That left me with 3 players left on my target list. But for reasons mostly down to budget, I was only able to bring in 1 more player on a free transfer. American Thomas Williams comes in from the MLS, formerly of Orlando. He should improve things defensively because he had a header win percentage of 88%, but I need more players. But we did start the season well, and so did Jack Fletcher. He scored 2 goals on his debut in the Conference League qualifiers. That was pretty much the perfect start to the season. We finished the job in the second leg, and the league season started, and it started well as well. So I went with the new tactic, the box setup, and everyone seemed to be enjoying it. A lot more players are getting the ball, probably because they're dropping a bit deeper. There's Samba, now as an attacking midfielder rather than a false 9. Everyone's getting a nice touch of the ball, and the passing movement is looking really good. Then it's down to some individual brilliance from the guys up front like Sau. Another great performance in the Conference League. So far so good. But then it grinds to a halt because we've got injury problems already. 3 key players already rolled out. And with a tiny squad of just 20 players, we're in a bit of trouble here. So we've started great, but as soon as these injuries hit, we are going to start to struggle. And we have started to struggle. The first game where the injuries hit, here, we only just got through. We won the first leg 4-1. The second leg was 4-2. Just sneaked through. So I'm mostly worried about defence. You can see Negru is injured, and if you can see there, I've only got 2 backups. Johnson, who's already playing, and Tom Williams, who I've just signed. Our depth is non-existent, so it's largely down to the limited transfer budget. And not only that, the wage budget. I went in for a load of players, but we just could not afford them. Now there might be a breakthrough because I've just seen on our recruitment budgets here, the wage budget available has gone up to £7,000 a week. So I'm thinking the Europa Conference League games have given us a little bit of a budget, so we might be able to get a couple of players in. And having a look, there's a couple of players here that might be decent. My problem position is defence. Antoine Mendy was playing in Ligue 1 last season for Nice and he ticks all the boxes. But I'm guessing with 20 caps for Senegal, he might be pretty pricey. I'm well stocked up front because Samba can jump up there, Fletcher can jump into attacking midfield, and we've got good players on the bench. I've got to prioritise defence, even though the more sexy signings are obviously midfield or striker. So I decided to go for Mendy, but he just didn't want any of it. In fact, we couldn't offer any wages. My board were limiting it to £460 a week. Great. With the extra games of the Conference League, this could be a bit of a brutal season. So let's savour this. After 2 matches in the SPL, we are top of the league. Despite all the problems, we continue to do Scottish football proud in the Conference League by smashing Sofia 4-1. I mean, really smashing them. We did get beat in the away leg, but it was only 2-1, which meant that Tiny Clyde are into the Europa Conference League phase. My only worry is the injuries just keep on coming. And what was starting to annoy me a little bit was the finances. They're in great shape now, and that's all down to our performance. But they still refuse to give me a recruitment budget. And then an absolute disaster, as our talented young player Diakite was the subject of bids from Arsenal and Atletico Madrid. There's nothing I can do because he's got that release clause in his contract. Damn it. A couple of days later, the deal was done. And they've slapped him straight on the loan list, not allowing us to have him back on loan. That did mean the board gave us some money, but I've got no time to spend it because it's deadline day. But I can move it to the wage budget, and I've got a bid in for Lamine Barlow, an Italian centre-back who ticks all of our technical boxes. Last season for Inter's B team he was fantastic. He should be really good if we can get it over the line. And we did get it over the line, and that's a good move for 2 reasons. The first is he's a quality attacking fullback. The second is it's going to free up our boy back, because if you remember, I bought him in as a midfielder. Converted him to more of a right back, but now he can cover Diakite, who's just left us. Perfect. So this is likely the squad that will take us through to January, and as you can see when I take the goalkeepers out, there's not a lot of players there, but at least they are getting good in terms of the overall technical and flair based approach. Our next game was against Giant Celtic, and they took the lead in the first blooming minute. However, this was the game where I decided that the box formation is the way to go. Because when we build up from the back like this, we look absolutely fantastic. And now we've got that extra thrust of Barlow down the right hand side. We're littered with ball players, and those creative boys are just fantastic. We scored 4 times and beat Celtic 4-2 for our best ever result. Following that result, our form continued to be great. This is definite progress from last season. And in the Conference League, we finished in the top 8. With big wins against Rosenborg, Pogan, Sofia and Maritimo. However, with all these extra games came more injuries and the fixtures started to pile up. And come late November into December, we lost 4 straight SPL matches. But we got our form back in the League Cup, and in the semi-final against Kilmarnock, we battered them. So we'd got ourselves to our first cup final, and it was up against Rangers, so it was always going to be tough. However, the passing football went into full flow and we took the lead through Bonner, a former Celtic player. And then in the second half, Juve had the chance from the penalty spot and he blasted it in. And we won our first bit of silverware, a shocking League Cup win over mighty Rangers. So a huge unexpected result, and at the halfway stage of the league campaign, we were in the top 4. We'd used the box formation most of the season, and as you can see, it gave us 61 clear-cut chances for. Only problem was, our out of possession setup was gifting the same amount, and that's why our goal difference looks a bit like this, 435 against 35. And it's not easy when injuries take its toll like they have done for us and continue to do. So I brought in a couple of players to help out. On a free transfer, the brilliant Ryan Benida. He comes in from Ajax with all the attributes we're looking for, and he got injured straight away. With absolutely no money still, I put a bid in for Rocky Bashiri, an experienced centre-back. Last season he won the ball back as much as anyone in the league. So with those two bodies in, hopefully we can push on for the end of the season. I've also signed a young player here, Daniel Portiquero. Check this guy out. I mean, look at all them attributes. It's beautiful. But he got denied a work permit. But I appealed it and signed him anyway because I thought he was just too good. Look at his record for Vargas Torres in Ecuador. 21 goals, 20 goals. He's gone at over 0.6 goals a match. Had to get him. So I put him on offer for loan. Hopefully we send him out on loan. He'll be able to get his work permit. We can use him next season. So we managed to sign Big Rocky. There he is, not the most technically gifted player in the world. His technique's not good enough. His first touch is not good enough. His passing's good, but that's about it. But he is literally a stopgap for this season. And those signings gave us a huge boost in January, February and early March as our form was fantastic. To be honest, the form continued through the second half of the season and we even beat Celtic at Celtic, thanks to that absolute beaut from Benita. But domestically, I've got no complaints because we tightened up at the back and finished the season in 4th place, qualifying for next season's Europa League. So there's a lot to like about this box setup. I'm not yet convinced I've got the right out of possession stuff, but if I can get that sorted and a few new players, we might be a threat yet to Celtic and Rangers. And I almost forgot about the Europa Conference League. So because we finished top 8, we went straight to the last 16 stage where we met Tromsø and beat them 2-0 in the home leg, going through 5-3. This led to a quarter-final tie against Slavia Prague in the first leg. Brit lucky to get a 2-2 draw. But in the home leg we were fantastic and smashed 3 goals in, going through 5-3 onto the semis. And this is where we met Servette from Switzerland in the semi-final. So the home leg was first, which I don't like to do. I normally like to play the away leg first, but we were playing some good football and got a vital 2-1 win thanks to those attacking midfield boys. We dominated that match and probably should have scored a few more. And that looked to be the case as Servette scored 3 times to put themselves in front. But we did manage to get one back, and then late in the game, this goal from Fletcher made it 3-2, 4-4 on aggregate, which of course meant penalties, and Marin pulled that save off. An absolute stunner. And then it was all on Bonner to send us to the Europa Conference League final. So it's a toughie in the final as we go against Lille. Fair to say they've got some high-ranked players. Jeez. So on 62 minutes, completely against the run of play, this penalty could put us level. I mean, looking at the match stats, we should be beaten and buried. So after 85 minutes, the way this game's going, I am not lying, I will take a penalty shootout win right. So it wasn't to be. We're gutted, but it wasn't the goal. The goal is to get past the big 2 in Scotland, and getting that far in the competition should help us. So as far as the team goes, this is the tactic we use most this season. Into the final, I did jump into this when it wasn't really working out like I wanted to, but most of the time it was this new version of the box. But when I look a bit closer at player performances, some of them liked it, some of them kind of dropped off. For example, Jack Fletcher was outstanding. What a pickup he was. His value is at 2.5 to 3.5 million, but that's largely down to the fact that he's got a release clause at 2.5 million. He's worth way more, as you can see, 15 goals, 14 assists, all from central midfield. And it's an interesting performance because when you get his creativity pie chart up there, you can see 0.2 assists, 0.3 goals. It's all like really good. There's nothing like exceptional. He's just been absolutely solid as a rock, but he does score goals. So the main creative forces last season was Sau and Samba. Now Samba was great again. Here he is, Samba, he'll get his stats up, 17 goals, 14 assists. Last season, he had a better goal scoring season than last season, but last season his average rating was through the roof and he gave more assists. So maybe he prefers being a false 9. And as for the strikers, they weren't as prolific as they were last season. Now Lopez did score 18 times this season, but only 8 in the SPL. But last season he was at 0.5 goals per 90, he's dropped to 0.3. So it's a similar story for Dylan Munro. Last season playing as a false 9, this season as a channel forward, only 8 in the SPL. His actual record is pretty much identical to last season, but without the pace needed for that channel forward role, he's probably better off as a deeper striker. Now this chart is due for the central midfielders, and again, it's an all-round performance, 0.3 assists, 0.2 goals. So my best two players this season were the two central midfielders, so it's got me thinking, do I potentially add a third central midfielder in there and sacrifice one of these two players, or do I get Samba and Monroe back to be false nines? Decisions. Further complicated by Sau's season, it wasn't as good, only 5 goals, 5 assists in the Premiership, 11 overall. And creativity wise, he dropped way off, basically half what he did last season. So it's a funny one because despite winning the League Cup, getting to the semis of the Scottish Cup, getting a record 4th place in the Prem and getting to the Europa Conference League final, there's an argument that last season we were overall more effective. But there's no doubting we've got a better squad now. Remember what we tried to do at the start? We set out to get a technique-based squad, and that is absolutely exceptional from where we started. It actually might mean we have to get slightly harsh with some of our established players. And I'm looking at you, Milton, because if we look at Milton Lopez and go across his attribute range, we can see that his first touch, his technique, his passing, his vision, his flair, his dribbling, his composure, they just aren't good enough. The only thing he's got going for him, what I'm looking for, is off the ball. Is it time to cash in? And is it time to look for new players? Because that run to the Europa Conference League final has given us finally a transfer budget, and it's a whopper. 11 million to spend in the pre-season. This could be an interesting time next season. Right, so we're going to a new season and the board gave me even more money, this time to expand my scouting team. And it's a sign of our progress with the types of scout that are now attracted to come to the club. Scouts with scouting knowledge from all over the world, which is going to be handy when we try and find these little rare gems. And this has led to some interesting options, with deals already getting done, including going back to Senegal for Abdul Razak Ba, a midfielder who can also jump into that false 9 slot, and another false 9 from Burkina Faso, Alassana Bagayogo. He's been excellent for a couple of seasons, and this season rocking in at 0.6 goals per 90 minutes. And closer to home, non-league in England, we've got Corey Layden at ball-playing centre-back. This could be the technical centre-back I've been looking for. I'm trying to repeat the Jack Fletcher dose with Shea Lacey released by Manchester United. There's no denying his technical quality. Look at that. Now, he's not getting a sniff at Manchester United, but he did have a spell on loan in our league at Aberdeen. If he can repeat the sort of form he had with Aberdeen, this could be a cheeky little signing. And with the scout team getting even bigger, the player recommendations list was getting bigger as well. And to the scouts' credit, they reminded me of the magical centre-back Mo Bakazi at Orlando Pirates. Not only is he stunning in terms of his attributes, but looking at his stats this season, 93% pass rate, tackle win ratio of 90%, and he wins the ball back 20.2 times in 90 minutes. Outstanding. And he's only going to cost 300,000. The scouts are on fire. I've got a club record bidding for Oscar Zulaga from Colombia. He's got the perfect DNA for us, and he's going to cost us $1 million, but I think he'll be worth it. Now, the squad's looking kind of beast, but I am overflowing with creative players, and I went for another one. But I've got an excuse this time. This is Azambuja, who's a Uruguayan international striker. Blasting goals all over the place the last 2 seasons at a goal ratio of 0.8. I've got to get this guy. But I did calm myself down and get some defenders in. For cover, Brooklyn Eze, an experienced fullback from the Bundesliga, and another Uruguayan international, Alan Saldivier, for centre-back. So I think those signings have given us a bit more respect because we are predicted to finish in the top 5 at 33-1, still way off Rangers and Celtic, and still no one can break into that best 11 despite our success last season. So fair to say that was a pretty hectic pre-season. Maybe the money that I got finally went to my head a bit because I just could not stop signing these quality players. But if you look at the overall squad now in terms of technical ability, it's blooming outstanding. So my initial plans were to put one of these guys into central midfield alongside Fletcher, but because of the attacking midfielders that I've bought, I think I might have to stick with the Brazil box. I've made some tweaks here and there. I've gone for double channel midfielders in there. I've changed one of the strikers to a deep lying forward. And out of possession, I'm going to experiment with dropping into like a 4-2-4, 4-4-2. Going to see how that goes in these competitive pre-season friendlies. So with the success of last season fresh in our memories, it's time to move on to this season and try to get in between Rangers and Celtic, because that is the goal. So I learned the lesson. Too many transfers. The season started with 4, count them, 4 straight Premier League draws. But the form spread into the Europa League and we went out in the last playoff stage to Gothenburg.
which does mean we go back to the Conference League, so maybe we can get redemption. So after 4 matches in the SPL, we still had not won a match, and then out of nowhere, we absolutely battered Rangers 5-0. It's so frustrating because when we play football like this, nobody can get near us. But that was the highlight in the early season because we dropped all the way to second bottom with only 1 win and we've only lost 3 times. We just cannot stop drawing matches. 9 out of 13. What is going on? So I did what most iconic managers would do in this panic situation. I put basically all of last season's players back in the starting 11, giving me instant chemistry back. And slowly but surely we started to climb back up the league. But I can't help thinking it's a huge missed opportunity in the league as both Celtic and Rangers have lost nearly as many as we have. If we could have just converted some of these draws into wins, we'd be right up there. And it was the polar opposite in the Europa Conference League, which is fast becoming our competition because we topped the league phase with 6 wins out of 6. But the upturn in form had meant I was able to bleed more players into the starting 11. In particular, Abdul Razak Bar looks like a quality player. But when you look at the data hub, we really should be doing a heap better because our formation has given us 82 clear-cut chances for and just 26 against. So that big signing of Azam Buja, who I was convinced was going to lead the line fantastically, well, he's only managed 5 in the league. It's Dylan Munro who stepped up as the main striker, smashing in 0.6 goals per 90 minutes, which is what I was looking for in the summer, and it was right under my nose already at the club. So if this isn't a lesson to not get carried away in the transfer market, I don't know what is. This is all my own doing. The better form did continue in the SPL in the second half of the season, including beating Rangers again and Celtic, and it meant we finished a respectable 6th position in the league. A bit disappointing though, this should have been a season where we pushed on. We also lost our League Cup after losing in the quarterfinals to Hearts, and in the Conference League there was no miracle run as Fulham knocked us out in the last 16. But this season wasn't a total write-off. So let me explain. If you look at the league table, we finished 6th. Ross County finished above us in 5th, and then the top 4 were kind of away from us with 64 points. So I knew that was going to happen, so I kind of sacrificed the last few games. And if you look at my last few games, you can see we lost 4 out of our last 5 matches. But there was a reason for this. And it's because we have a chance to claim another trophy as all the big guns have been knocked out of the Scottish Cup, leaving us in the final against Dundee. So that means if we can beat Dundee, we can rescue this pretty average season and get ourselves another trophy. So after firing up the boys, we started well, but we couldn't make the breakthrough as Dundee were defending super deep. But our passing play was looking good. Our box system is something I'm going to persist with, probably with some tweaks, but I just love the way they play. And on 50 minutes it helped us get the breakthrough as Sal found Munro and he slotted in. And after a tight affair, that was enough to gain our 2nd domestic trophy in 2 years as we take down the Scottish Cup to rescue a pretty average season. So I don't know what to think about that season. I still think it's a massive missed opportunity because Celtic and Rangers lost a load of matches as well, but at least we get a trophy. Now, the system, as you can see by the team, I have started to bed in some of the other players now. Sal's going to be there forever because he's so good. Samba came back into the team. The big standout was Dylan Munro up front. So he ends the campaign with 24 goals. And he managed to maintain that striker form, just dropping down from 0.6 to 0.5 goals per match, which is still absolutely outstanding. And Sal, after a disappointing season last season, was back on form. His creativity was right back up to 0.4 assists per match, as were his key passes. A standout in the league. Of the newer players, last season's January transfer signing, Benida, when he can stay fit, he's absolutely outstanding. He pinged in 16 goals this season, so for an attacking midfielder getting me 0.4 goals per 90 alongside decent rate of assists and key passes, if I can keep him on the pitch, he's vital. Of the defenders, Mobakazi was decent, but I did expect a little bit more. So some of his defensive work was fantastic, his blocks, his interceptions and his pass completion rate, but some of the other metrics such as his tackling and winning the ball back were just a little bit average. But that probably has a lot to do with the system because these boys at the back don't really have a lot of protection, and that's something I might have to think about for next season. And speaking of next season, when you go to defender in my squad, the guy on top of it is Corey Layden, the player I sent on loan last season to Blackpool. His attributes have all shot up, so it looks like a good loan move for him, and he's won the ball back at a really high rate, so next season could be his time to get in our squad. So for next season, I do want to stay with this tactic because as you saw from some of the goals, they're outstanding going forward. I just feel like we might need a bit of protection for these defenders. So it may be that we sacrifice a striker. I know I said this last season,
I'm thinking like a ball-playing halfback might be able to slot in there. Think of like a Rodri. He drops back. Maybe the wing-backs push on a little bit. Maybe we just rely on one striker to score the goals and go for a weird hybrid diamond Christmas tree. Because to be fair to the board, I've now got them in a really stable position. 11.5 million healthy, and that's meant they are sticking to their guns and giving me another 11 million to spend if I need it. But I do remember just to go a bit more calm than I did last season, because the opportunity is definitely there, because Celtic and Rangers are losing a lot of matches. So we're going into season 9, I think it is, and there's two big things I want to get done in this pre-season. It's to nail down the tactic and get the right players for this new tactic. So the tactic I'm pretty set on is this one, where we've got a halfback who comes in instead of an extra striker. It's a bit of a risk, but I think it should just make us a bit more solid and release the wing backs to get further forward. So then it was a question of finding the right player to put into that slot. And my search went far and wide, including the Championship in Scotland. After having a look at the various metrics, I found a player that I liked. And he was at Falkirk, and he was actually their key player. This is Zach Walsh, and I couldn't believe I'd not seen him earlier. He's 23 years old, he's already been capped by Scotland, and he's got fantastic technical attributes. They had actually played him as an attacking midfielder, so it's good to know he can play there, but he also wins the ball back at a good rate, 12 per 90 minutes. Available for just 325,000, it seemed like the perfect player to get. So I also wanted more experienced, proven halfback in that slot, so that's where I came across Pedro Bravo. It comes in from Colombia, costing just 475,000. Now he is more of a natural halfback, so he might be the first choice starter. Another player for that position was Matteo Romeo from Leyton Orient. He was attractive because he's 6'4", so he's going to have the physical presence to drop into halfback. So I'm pretty confident now that one of those three players can fill that slot. So out of possession, I ummed and ahed, but I settled on this 4-3-3 variation. The halfback will naturally drop into that centre-back slot, so the drop in defensive midfielder role seemed perfect. As far as the lone striker role goes, I want to give Dylan Munro a chance because he broke all records last season, so he's going to be our number one striker. The only other signing was Bilal Slimani from Algeria. Now he cost me 600,000, but he's already valued at a top line 15.5, so we might have found ourselves a little gem. And that was all the transfers completed. As promised, I didn't go crazy in the transfer market this season, and the overall squad now's technical ability is the best we've ever had. And with the new, more solid approach, pre-season looked good. There were some good results, and we started to cut loose from an attacking standpoint as well. So signs are it's looking good. Now keep your eyes here on Pedro Bravo. When we win the ball back here, his first inclination is to move back and sit next to the two other centre-backs. So now we've got a back three, which allows my two wing-backs, Ballo and Deporter, to bomb on. This should give us a bit more of an attacking thrust. As you can see, when Sal gets the ball back to Ballo here, Bravo is actually the deepest man. So we've got a back three, which means we've got more players going forward. And in this match against Aberdeen, our first SPL match of the season, the two fullbacks in their new roles were absolutely vital, as Ballo laid the ball onto Ba whipped it across to left-back Deporter, and he found the assist. Aberdeen were always a team we struggled against, but not in this match, as the incredible Sal bagged the hat-trick. A stunning first game of the SPL season. Maybe we're onto something. So, what a start to the season. A big 4-0 win against Aberdeen, a team that we've usually struggled against. Now, this tactic has got some promise. Have we finally got an out-of-possession setup that we can actually work with? That's the big question. What I've done is, as we get both up, I've kind of make it as similar as possible, so the two attacking midfielders go out wide. It's all about this halfback, really, because like you just saw, in possession, he sits there. So if we lose the ball, he'll already be there. So I'm thinking that's the way to go. We might end up moving him back to be a back five, but at the minute, after winning 4-0, I ain't changing nothing. So the players you see in that starting 11 are pretty much the guaranteed starters. We'll see how Bravo goes, see if he holds it up. The gaps in the team, well, they're up for grabs, and I've got loads of creative players. I've got loads. So that is my strongest part of the team, is the attacking midfield slots. So we're going to another season in our mission to break up the Glasgow clubs. We're also in the Europa League again, thanks to our cup win last season, and we have made a massive dent into Europe as we have surged up the table. Who would have thought little Clyde could be that high up in the European rankings? So it's all systems go now. Let's see how we do. In terms of the media prediction, we're once again in position 5 at 25-1. But with a perfect start like that, I'm hoping we can upset a few teams. As we got to the midway point of the season, Azam Buja finally hit his promise. Last season he was pretty quiet, but this season, the new setup seemed to suit him, especially the wing-backs are playing balls like that. With 10 goals in the Premiership and 17 goals overall, it's been a huge improvement going at 0.5 goals per match. And he's not been alone, as the first half of the season was pretty good. There was some disappointment, like the League Cup final against Rangers where we lost 3-0, but we'd only lost 3 times in the league all season and found ourselves top of the league after 25 matches. And more interestingly, Celtic and Rangers really struggling, 9 and 10 points behind respectively. Could this be the season? Attacking wise, the team looked great. The passing, look at that, all our players littered in and around with accurate passing, lots of passing, a good mixture. And the new tactic was looking like the right move because 2 of our most important players were the wing backs. This is Deporter, the left wing back. Look at that for an attacking performance. Head and shoulders above most of the opposition. Assist per 90 at 0.4 for a wing back is absolutely outstanding. And on the right hand side, Ballo is doing pretty much the same job. His assist per 90 would be right up there if the strikers were scoring the goals he was providing, because his open play expected assists outrageous. We're also still in the Scottish Cup and still in the Europa League after navigating the league stage. So at this stage, the only thing that could probably stop us is the amount of games we're having. Because we managed to knock out Bayer Leverkusen on penalties in the Europa League thanks to Marin, and in the last 16 we drew divisional rivals Hearts. Now speaking of Hearts, they just knocked us out of the Scottish Cup, and they were having a great season, looking like a title rival. Also coming up strong were Celtic, who were starting to put some wins together and looking really, really dangerous. So in the Europa League last 16, we beat Hearts 3-2 at home, but then at Tynecastle, they absolutely crushed us, knocking us out. So that's 2 cups they've knocked us out of now. Then we had to face form team Celtic at a packed, well, kind of packed, Clyde Stadium. In the performance of the season, we managed to stop Celtic's surge with a beautiful Clyde goal, going front to back, showing exactly how we play football and dismantling them 4-1. As the match stats show, against one of the best teams in the league, we were pretty much perfect. So that shot us to the top of the table, but now it was Rangers who started to come back at us. And our run-in looked brutal. Hearts, Aberdeen and Rangers on the last day of the season. And once again it looks like we're going to rely on the amazing Ibrahima Sow, signed all those years ago from Generation Foot in Senegal, head and shoulders above every creative midfielder in the league. What a player he's been. So the run-in didn't start great. Hearts deny us victory again, and then we lose to Aberdeen, meaning we have to beat Rangers on the last game of the season to win the title. This team, this setup, they are so close to now achieving our day 1 goal. So Ibrox was packed, and this helped us big time. As Bagayoko is tripped in the box, leaving Ba to give us a great start. And for once I'm quite at ease at the defensive setup, they look good. Leading to us winning the ball back, Bagayoko smashing the post, and Slimani smashing in the rebound. It's quite fitting that the quest was to gazump Celtic and Rangers. We've had our 2 best performances against Celtic and Rangers in this season, and we finished it off with a beautiful third. So finally, in the year 2034, we achieve our goal. We finish above Celtic and Rangers and get the league title. So I won't lie, at one point I was convinced Hearts were going to rain on our parade and just take it from us, but they finished 1 point behind us. Rangers finishing 3rd. Celtic, by the way, all the way down in position 6. Not sure what happened to them this season, but I really don't care. So the tactic that finally got us there was the half-back box. We thought that we might need something a little bit more solid in there, and that's where Bravo came in, and that's where the fullbacks did their thing. I did make a couple of changes to the tactic from the start of the season. So Deporter and Ballo, I changed them back to normal fullbacks. They didn't need to play wing-back. They were getting a bit too far forward, and I wasn't liking the amount of times they were crossing the ball. Drew them back a bit, and it didn't affect them at all. So back in season 1, I didn't think we'd end up with a squad looking like that, but it's pretty blooming special. We've even got players getting close to 20 ratings. We've got 18s, Visions, 17s all over the place. A beautiful, beautiful squad. But with all those signings, I still think Sow is my best one now. He joined us in the Championship in 28-29, so he's been with us 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 seasons, but every season, other than a little blip in 2031-32, he's been absolutely outstanding. And that's Generation Foot, the best place to find players in Africa, I'm telling you. So we leave the club in a good state. The finances are nice and healthy, with 8 million in the bank, and that would be even more, but they are indeed building a new stadium. There it is, 2032, so they've been at it 2 years. They probably should have got the guys who made the Royal Rumble Stadium recently to build it in 4 weeks. A tough and rewarding challenge, at least the fans are happy at last. Celtic didn't take it very well, And we don't care because we came into this searching for Clyde's best ever finish in the league, and we've got it with that Premiership trophy. A good spell at the club, runners up in the Conference League, we won that Premiership, we won the Scottish Cup and we won the League Cup as well. Who says Football Manager's all about physicals?